53-year-old Beverly Hicks is suing her son, 31-year-old dock supervisor Stan Freitas, for destroying her dining room table. Stan denies doing any damage.
Order. Come to order. All rise. Now, this is case number 513 on the calendar in the matter of Hicks versus Freitas. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
All right, let's see if we can resolve this today. Okay? Bring your level down.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Good. Ms. Hicks, the defendant is your son.
Yes, he is.
According to your complaint, there was an altercation in your home sometime last summer. And during the course of that altercation, he damaged a dining room table in your home.
That's correct.
You want him to pay for that table or for the repairs to the table. I honestly believe after reading the complaint and the answer, there's a lot more here, and probably not the reason for this lawsuit, but we'll get to that in a minute. This whole altercation started over your son's children from a previous marriage.
Correct.
I gather that you don't see those children regularly. Is that right, sir?
Once a year, if I'm lucky.
And you decided to form a more intimate relationship with the children's mother so that you could visit with them.
That's correct.
And made arrangements for the girls, they're two girls,
Yes, ma'am.
to come to visit you.
Correct.
Where do the girls live?
The girls live in Connecticut.
And where do you live?
I live in Oakland, California.
So, how old are they?
Leanna is 8, she'll be 9 in July, and Simone just turned 11 in January.
And ultimately, their mother agreed to let them come to visit you.
I had to go out and spend some time with them because neither one of us had seen the girls in 4 years, and see if they were willing to come. I didn't want to bring them out and have them, you know, afraid. And I spent some time out there with them, and they were willing to come, and she was willing to let me.
But there was a stipulation to allowing the girls to come to California with you. What was the stipulation?
Is that I was in control and responsible for the girls. She did not want their father to have them alone. He could come visit them, he could spend time with them, he could do whatever he wanted to as long as I was there.
Did you tell your son that the girls were coming?
I told him that I was hoping to bring them back. I couldn't guarantee it. But as soon as we landed, I took the girls straight to his job.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you saw your girls, you hadn't seen them in 4 years?
3 years and about eight and a half months.
Was it nice to see them?
Very nice.
And that all came about because of your mother's efforts.
Yes.
Did you communicate with your son the fact that the only stipulation was that he couldn't have the children alone without you?
Absolutely.
When did you tell him that?
When I called him and told him we had landed, I had the girls. And he said, "You're coming by here." He wanted to spend some time with them. So I agreed to leave them at his job with him, and I would come back and get them. I honestly don't even know exactly what went on, but he ended up leaving his job and taking the girls to his house, and then bringing them back to me at about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I told him we could not do that again. I was going to find out, and the whole point of this was to be able to have the girls back and forth on some type of a regular basis.
Why did you bring the girls back 2 o'clock in the morning?
Because that's what time I started work, was at 2:30 in the morning at my job.
That's right. That's right.
Wrong. That was wrong. Do you understand that that was wrong?
No, I don't understand it that
Okay,
way.
well, I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Your mother, through some effort, had reestablished a relationship with your two girls, and your two girls are in the custody of their mother. Absent a court order to the contrary, she has the right to stipulate what the parameters of this visit will be. And by returning the girls at 2:30 in the morning, that was behaving irresponsibly, totally irresponsibly.
Well, if I could speak here, if you want to know why, let's get on this subject, their responsibility. She failed to pick them up. The whole thing came about with them staying with me at my job was the fact that she had to take her boyfriend back to his house in South San Jose. They hadn't eaten yet, they hadn't done anything. She's like, "I have to run him back. I'll leave him here with you." I said, "Fine, they'll be here with me. I still got 3 more hours of work. They can stay for a couple hours. You come back, pick them up. We'll all go get something to eat, and that'd be the end of it." She never showed. I called 2 or 3 times. I'm stuck in traffic, or this took longer, whatever. I said, "Well, I need to go." I said, "I'll take them home with me, feed them. They can stay with me. I'll bring them back in the morning on my way to work." I didn't want to bring them back at 2:30 in the morning. She insisted. I said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" She didn't want me to take them at all. I said, "Okay, well, I'll just keep them here till 8, 9 o'clock at night. They'll just stay in my office for 8 hours a day until you feel like coming back to get them." And she agreed that wasn't acceptable either.
Is that what happened, Miss Hicks?
No.
Let me hear.
We got in there, I would say somewhere around 4. And
To his office?
To his office. And I had to take Dwight back, because Dwight went with me to the East Coast. He wanted to keep the girls. He told me to go. He'd keep them here, and then we could go eat. That part is correct. I took Dwight back and dropped him off, turned around and came back. He called. He wanted to leave. I told him he couldn't. He said, well, I'll go take him to get something to eat, and then I'll meet you. I said, okay, that's fine. Then he called and said, no, I'm taking him home.
So ultimately the girls came home at 2:30 in the morning.
Right.
It was a mistake for you to leave them with your son
That's true.
because that was in direct violation of your agreement with their mother.
That's true.
So what happened on the day of this altercation?
He called me that morning and
The
told
next
me,
morning?
No. I would say about 4 or 5 days later.
Had he seen the girls in that 4 or 5 day period?
No, I hadn't seen him once, Your Honor. Not to mention it was 3 weekends later when I arrived.
Okay. Had you called your mother about coming over to see the
Several
girls?
times.
Well, what happened when you called her about coming over to see the girls?
They were never there. She was never there, they were never there, or when I wanted to come over, it just wasn't going to work out. I couldn't do that. Or a weekend when I just wanted to take them to the city. No.
Well, you couldn't take them away to the city, Mr. Freitas, because her agreement with their mother prohibited you from doing that.
I have joint custody of those kids.
No. If you have joint custody of the children, then what you do, sir, is you proceed with your rights in a court if your custodial rights are being interfered with. But your mother had an agreement with their mother. This was not your visitation. This was a gratuitous visit by their mother and their grandmother. So I don't know what kind of joint custody you have with the children if you haven't seen them in 4 years.
She won't let me see them. Every time the judge says I can see them, she goes to Puerto Rico.
Then you have to pursue that, sir. But you don't pursue that at the expense of this relationship, because this relationship is the only one that's enabling you, without having to go back to Connecticut, to see your girls.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Beverly Hicks says her son, Stan Freitas, destroyed her dining room table in a fit of rage. Stan says she wouldn't let him see his children.
Now, what happened when you went over to pick up the girls? Had you called first?
Yes, ma'am. 3 days straight. And the night before.
Okay, and the night before, did you make an arrangements to see the girls?
Yes. I told her I'd be coming by in the morning. She said, that's fine. You can come by in the morning.
Great, so you got there.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened?
I knocked on the door. She said, come in. I went in. The girls weren't to be seen. I said, where are the girls? She said, you're not going to see them. I said, what do you mean by that?
Just a second. Did she say you're not going to see them or you're not going to take them away?
Her exact words, you're not going to see them. And in fact, I didn't see them the whole time I was there because my half-brother over there had them in the back bedroom. Wouldn't even let them come out to see me because she knew they'd be upset if they knew they couldn't see me, spend time with me, or leave with me, whatever the case.
No, there's a difference, Mr. Freitas. There's a difference in seeing them and taking them, sir.
Okay, seeing them then.
Did you tell your mother that you really only wanted to visit with the girls in the house?
Yes, I wanted to see their faces. She agreed to that. And when I showed up and plans changed, and then I couldn't see them, I couldn't spend time with them, not even in the house, you know, that's what I was upset about. She had changed everything when I'd shown up. The reason she changed everything is because my new wife was sitting out in the car out front. Her entire look on her face, her attitude, her tone of voice was fine until when she opened the door and she realized that my new wife was sitting out in the car. That's when things turned sour. She began to yell. She rushed the kids into the back room with my half-brother and then said, you're not seeing them, you're not taking them, you just need to leave.
Why do you think that she had a problem with your new wife being involved with the visitation with the girls? Did she tell you?
No, she didn't tell me.
Did she say anything about your former wife saying that she didn't want the girls to be in her company?
No.
Did you ever tell him that, Miss Hicks?
Yes, I did.
What was the reason that the first Mrs. Freitas didn't want the second Mrs. Freitas to be involved with the children?
Because when the girls called his house, the messages were not relayed to Stan that the girls had called.
At least that's what wife number one reported to you. Whether she was right or wrong.
I have no clue.
You have no clue. But that was the arrangement.
Absolutely.
Okay, because they didn't know each other.
No, they've never met.
And the second Mrs. Freitas isn't the reason that the first Mrs. Freitas became the first Mrs. Freitas. I assume that...
No.
So it was just a first wives thing.
Yes.
Right. Got it. Unreasonable. Mr. Freitas, that's unreasonable on her part. But that was the bargain. Okay, so then the girls are shuffled in the back room, and there's an argument between you and your son. Tell me about the argument.
Well, that's not exactly how it happened. Josh answered the door. I didn't answer the door. The girls were already in the back of the house playing in the room. And I came out to the dining area. He said, I'm here to get the girls. I had no idea Ileana was in the car. I said, you know you can't take the girls. You can stay here, you can see them, you can do whatever you want. You cannot take the girls. He screamed for Simone, and Josh came out, stood in the doorway of the kitchen, and he was going to get between us. I told him to stay back because I didn't want these two boys fighting.
He never came out, Your Honor.
And Stanley at that point bumped into me. I bumped back into him. We pushed back and forth. He yelled again for Simone and Leanna at the top of his lungs. I looked at Josh. Josh is standing. I said, get back. Go in there with the girls. Call the police. And at that, he picked the table up and he threw the table. And I told him to get out of my house. He turned around and walked out. I followed him out. That's when I saw that Ileana was in the car, and AJ. I followed him around. We had a little more pushing and shoving, and he got in the car and left. The police came, took a report, did pictures. The girls were very upset. I went in and spent a little bit of time with them, told them that their dad wasn't mad at them, their dad was mad at me. And Simone says, Dad loses his temper a lot. It's okay.
And I assume that since that time you have not seen your youngest grandson.
No, I have only seen my grandson 4 times. He was 2 years old in January.
And you've not communicated with your son since then?
I have attempted to. He hangs up on me and tells me not to call.
Can I see the pictures of the table, please?
Yeah. Okay, these are my pictures. This is the police report, and these are the police pictures. I attempted to work this out with him by getting him to just pay for the table, typed up a thing, signed it. My son gave it to him. He would not sign it or give him the money. He said he had to call and make sure that this would prevent any legal problems. Then the DA dropped the case, and so this was my only alternative.
No, the case was dismissed, Your Honor, in a court.
After a trial?
Facts were heard. The DA went back. I went back 4 times.
No.
4 days of work.
Pay careful attention to me, sir. Was there a trial?
No, there was 2 hearings, and it was thrown out. She keeps using this as an excuse to force a relationship with me and my family.
Okay, that's where we're at. You're absolutely right.
Yes, let's get there, ma'am.
Okay. But what I'm telling you is...
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
You know, I can understand your feeling when your girls are in California and you are relegated to a position of visiting them under their mother's rules. Okay? I can understand that. And if it's true, Mr. Freitas, that you have an order that permits you more liberal time with your girls that you're not able to enforce because their mother, for whatever reason, I am telling you I am sympathetic with that. You're targeting the wrong person.
I'm a little confused by that, Your Honor. All I'd like for her to do is just leave me alone. I'm not targeting her. I'm not saying bring them down again. I'm not saying have you talk to them. I let it go. After this incident, that was the end of it. And she won't let it go.
Because she's not ready to, you're her child.
She blew that shot, Your Honor. Tell me if I'm wrong, Your Honor. If this is your child, you look at his point of view and you work for his best interest, not some ex-wife.
No,
3,000 miles away. Or at least work it down the middle, you know, somewhere in between.
She can't do that,
well, then
Mr.
she made the deal
Freitas.
with the devil, Your Honor. I didn't make the deal.
No, Mr. Freitas. That's not a deal with the devil, sir.
You haven't met my ex-wife?
Cute line. Mr. Freitas, your mother may have made a deal with the devil in order to get your girls here to California. And if that was the only way to do it, you shouldn't have put her in a position to say, well, now that you got the girls here, now we're going to play it by my rules. It may have all worked out eventually, given some time, but you wanted the...
But then again, Your Honor, it may not have. And considering it was 3 years and 8 months since I'd last seen him, what was I supposed to do? Hope that this worked out? And if it didn't, just suck up the next 4 years?
Just a minute. You want to know the answer? The answer is you got to see your children. You
For
got
4
the
hours
answer is,
in my office.
Just a second. You got to see your children, and you could have seen them again.
She wouldn't
You know,
let me.
listen, no, yes, Mr. Freitas, you're wrong. And I can't believe that. I cannot believe that you
Neither could I.
No, Mr. Freitas, you're very angry. And I don't blame you for being angry at their mother if she's interfering with your rights to see your girls. Your target is the wrong person. She tried to do the right thing. You wanted her to breach her agreement, which could have, if the girls went home and said, I went out with Daddy and his new wife, and we spent the day, we spent overnight, we spent the weekend. Their mother says, that wasn't our agreement. They're never coming out to you again. You broke your word. All bets are off. It would have been a tragic mistake. So when you say to me, well, maybe it would have worked and maybe not, and then I would not have seen them for another 4 years, that's possible. But right now, she did it. She put your girls in the same state that you were, in the same county, on the same block, in the same house. You got to see them. To be able to see them, to visit with them, even once a year if your mother brings them out, is better than nothing. But you're picking on the wrong person, sir.
I'm not picking on her. When this incident happened, that was the last contact I've had with her, and she keeps repeatedly trying to have contact with me, and I don't want it. It's over. Go do your thing, leave me alone. That's all I ask.
Good. Give me the estimate for the table.
I tried to get him to pay for the table.
Listen, I know what it's about. I see no matter how hard I
These
try,
are the
he's going to be
receipts.
angry. Miss Hicks?
That's the breakdown.
But she's using
These
this
are the
table as an
receipts.
excuse.
Of course she is. I absolutely agree with you.
And that's right, Your Honor? That's right?
No.
When a judge in a criminal court said this is a bunch of nonsense...
Judge in the criminal
threw it
court
out?
wasn't going to waste their time, Mr. Freitas, when you say, she wants me and I don't want anything to do with her. It's over. Not smart. Okay, Mr. Freitas, you have my sympathy as a parent who's having a difficult time establishing an ongoing relationship with two of your children. There may have been a reason for that. I don't know. I don't know what the reason for the breakup of your first marriage was. I don't know if you had the same kind of anger that you seem to have now, that's part of your personality. But I do have sympathy for you with regard to not seeing your girls. I think that to choose to target your mother.
I still don't get this target my mother. How have I targeted her?
You targeted your mother by cutting yourself off from her and cutting her off from her other grandchild. That's how you targeted her. You've said, it's okay for me not to have anything to do with my mother anymore. I'm cutting her off. She is now, in my mind, dead, and there is no reason for me to see her. I'm not going to allow her to see my child.
What reason would I have to see her? She wouldn't even let me see my own kids. I don't even have a phone number for where they're at. And she couldn't even let me see them.
She did let you see them. She brought them to your office. If she were going to
And on the first day, and then the whole time they were here, I wasn't allowed to see them?
Mr. Freitas, I want to tell you something. You know that relationships usually don't last, right?
Yes,
Is that a
ma'am.
fair statement? You know how many mothers you have? One.
Well, she needed to value it on the other side, too.
Listen, try receiving, Mr. Freitas. You're only going to have one mother. You're cutting off the wrong person. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600, that's all.
Parties are excused.
72-year-old Betty Crowell is suing 21-year-old student Michael Roman for wrecking her car. Betty's granddaughter, 18-year-old student Mira Crowell, says she loaned the car to Michael after a party.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 527 on the calendar in the matter of Crowell versus Roman. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Miss Crowell, I assume that this is your granddaughter.
Yes.
And you had a car. You let your granddaughter borrow your car.
Yes.
Your granddaughter allowed the defendant to drive the car.
Right.
The defendant was in an accident.
Yes.
Damaged your car. You want him to pay for it. Right?
Right.
You, step up here. What's your first name?
Mira,
All right, Mira, when did you borrow your grandmother's car?
on January 11th,
How long had you been driving?
since I've been 15 years old.
Did you have a license when you were 15?
I had a learner's permit. I've been driving with my parents.
All right, now on the 11th of January, where did you meet Mr. Roman?
At a friend's house. We met at a friend's house in the early afternoon. And then in the late afternoon, like around 4 or 5, he asked to borrow my car to run his own personal errands.
Speak not until I get to you. Go ahead.
To run his own personal errands. And then he returned my car around 7 o'clock after
When he
dark.
said he wanted to borrow the car to run his own personal errands, he didn't say personal errands.
No, he said he was
said
going by his house or to his work or something. It was in the same general area. So I told him he could use the car because I'd driven with him before. and he drove perfectly fine. And I wasn't breaking any of the rules that my grandmother and I had agreed on when she let me use the car. And I had signed a contract for that. And
You mean you signed a contract with your grandmother?
yes.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Good for you. Let me see the contract. Who prepared this agreement?
I did.
You crossed out number 1.
Because I started growing my hair out.
You had cut your hair very short? Like a crew cut?
No, well, I cut it really short and
Long in front.
yeah, it was long in the front.
Byrd, I just want... Grandma's a tough cookie. I will not acquire any tattoos on my body. I will not allow any parts of my body to be pierced. Not use any drugs. Not smoke anything. Not consume any alcohol prior to age of 21. And never while driving the car. Maintain the car in clean condition. Will attend school. Take driver's ed. Will work or travel or attend school every summer. Will drive defensively, cautiously, and will not allow anyone under the age of 21 to drive this car. You signed it.
Yes, ma'am.
That's great.
Can I get a copy of this?
You sure can.
Thank you.
Byrd wants a copy. You don't mind, do you? Okay. In any event, how old are you?
21.
So?
Can I, first bite?
Shh, shh, shh. I'm not with you yet. So when he came back after borrowing the car, what happened?
He came inside and
How much later?
a few hours. And he came inside and told me he had something to tell me. And I was like, you know, what? And he told me he wrecked my car, he'd been in an accident. And I thought he was joking because I didn't believe it. And he brought me outside to show it to me. And then he proceeded to apologize to me for wrecking my car and told me that he would take care of it for me. He told me then that he hadn't filled out an accident or police report. And so I asked him if we could do that. And he said, no, we can't, because it was a hit and run and it wasn't my fault. And at that point, I said, okay, well, I don't know what to do about it then, so we'll wait till tomorrow.
When did you let your grandmother know about the accident?
I was out of town. My mother died, and I was in Alabama taking care. She had just died and taking care of that, and I was going through that trauma. So Chris, my son-in-law, tried to take care of things for me. So.
Okay. When did you tell your father?
I told my father the next day, and he told me to contact my insurance company and see what they had to say, which I did. And they didn't. They said that they wouldn't do anything because the insurance that I had wasn't collision insurance or...
What kind of car was this?
A 1993 Honda Civic EX.
You had personal injury insurance, but no collision, I assume.
Because I'm on a limited income, and with a teenager driving, I couldn't afford collision.
collision,
It was about
but you-
twice as much with the liability.
Okay. Can I see photographs of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
They're
They're...
in the packet, Your Honor. They're on the back of Section 3 is the 3 estimates we got to repair the car, and the pictures are at the back of Section 3.
Thank you. Okay. You're up.
You ready? All right, basically, how it started is I was at a party that I had met her. I think maybe this contract that she just gave you must be pretty recent for the fact that probably the first five.
All I want to know is how you got the car and how you got into this accident.
Okay, I'm gonna let you know. Basically, I was at this party. I had met, we had mutual friends. I had met her that night. It was late. Wasn't any time in the daytime. It was nighttime, early morning, maybe 3, 4 in the morning. I was on my way out. I had plenty of friends there that could have given me a ride. I had no reason to ask her for the car. She asked me if I could pick up one of her friends, that her friend Wilma or somebody needed to be picked up, that she was having problems with her mom. She needed to get out of the house. So I said, look, at the same time, I need to bring my record back home. I've been up, tired. I need to bring it home. So I proceeded to bring my book back home. On the way back...
I don't understand. I just didn't understand that, sir. Did I not understand it on purpose? First you tell me she asked you to pick up her friend Wilma, and then you started to fumpy over, you had a book bag and a record, you wanted to bring it home. Let's get to, she asked you to pick up her friend Wilma. You also wanted to take a record home?
No, my record bag home, because I had it with me and I was...
So you wanted to take your record bag home. Stop playing with the pen. You wanted to take your record bag home.
Yeah.
So now that I understand that, continue. So you said...
Well, after that, I told her that, I explained to her that, look, I didn't have insurance, I didn't have a car at the time, but I had a valid driver's license.
You had this whole discussion?
Yeah.
Listen to me. I want you to tell me everything that happened. Not everything that you believe should have happened, that you would have liked to have been said. Do you understand? Because I have had children who are teenagers, who are 19 and 20 and 21 years old. And if somebody asks you to take a friend home and you want to take your book bag home, you do not have a conversation about whether you have a valid driver's license or is there insurance on the car. Listen to me. Listen to me. Now, you listen to me, because I'm smarter than you. You could live to be 200, you won't be as smart as I am. Do you understand that?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 18-year-old Mira Crowell says she loaned her grandmother's car to Michael Roman. Mira says Michael wrecked it and refuses to pay.
Just tell me the truth. Simple, clean, and easy. You were going to go pick up a friend and also go to your house to bring home a book bag.
Exactly.
Right.
But this wasn't on my choice. I didn't want to. From the beginning, once again, I did not want to bring her or even do her the favor of bringing
Then you don't do it.
Exactly.
Then you...
Exactly.
Then you don't do it.
Okay, exactly. But
Good.
She continued.
But you got... I don't care whether you're going to tell me that she continued to beg you, plead you, whatever. Put the pen down. Stop scratching your ear. You don't get behind the wheel of a car if you didn't want to do it. You did want to do it, so you got behind the wheel of her car. Is that right? Did she, in fact, point a gun in your head and say, go get my friend? Yes or no?
No.
Did she take out a knife, threaten you in any way?
No.
Did she threaten to call the police if you didn't do her this favor?
No.
Did she threaten to tell your family that you had done something grotesque to her?
No, ma'am.
No. So you got her keys, and you got in the car.
She gave me the keys.
Yes,
and
she gave you the keys.
Proceeded to go home to bring my record back home.
So the first thing you did was go home, right?
Right.
So you took care of your chore first, right?
Exactly.
Good. When did you get into the accident?
The reason, let me take one step back. The reason that...
No, you listen to me. You took your book bag home.
Mm-hmm.
Did you take your book bag home before or after the accident?
Before the accident.
So you got home with your book bag and there was no accident?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you left your house, where was your next stop?
To her friend's house.
And how far away was that from your house?
Maybe 3 miles.
And how far did you get before you had the accident?
Maybe 2 miles.
Now tell me about the accident.
I was coming down Highway 50, and that's a main highway, state road. There was a Cadillac in the fast lane. I was in the medium lane, the middle lane, proceeding down the road. I noticed that they kind of were driving hazardous. Whoever the person was driving just tapping their brake lights. They were kind of swerving. They proceeded to get in front of me, so I switched over lanes because I noticed, you know.
You switched over to the fast lane?
Yeah, I switched over to the fast lane to not be in back of them. They slammed on their brakes and turned this way, back into my lane. The bumper of the back bumper of her car touched the front bumper of the Civic. Spun me off into there was a construction site going on at the time. There was temporary construction signs. Spun me off into a median. One of the temporary signs hit the windshield, spun me back off into the middle of the road. And I stopped the car, pulled it over. And as soon as I got out of the car, the other car kept going. So I proceeded to pull the car over into a parking lot because there was a mall right there. So I pulled it over, looked at the car, see if it was drivable. I realized that I wasn't too far from home. I was really nervous. I had previously explained to him that, you know, I didn't personally have insurance.
I don't believe that.
Okay, but...
So let's get over that. I don't believe that you personally explained to her that you had no insurance. That's not consistent with human...
That's a big part of my case. I mean...
It may be a big part of your case. I don't believe it.
But that...
I don't believe it.
Okay, so anyway, so basically after that had happened, I was nervous. I was kind of shook about the whole situation with the car. So I knew I was only maybe a mile and a half from the house where the party was going on still. Brought her back the car, explained to her the situation that had happened, brought her outside, showed her the car, and explained to her that I felt that we should call the cops and that I would personally tell them that I was driving and that at least they would have a police report of some sort. And from then on, we continued on. Nothing had happened. She never called the cops. 3 days later, we continued partying. We hung out. I continued to drive the car. She let me borrow the car the next day.
Did you let him borrow the car the next day?
Yes. And can I explain why?
Sure.
Because he had a pager, and he said that that was the only number he would give us, was his pager number. And he said that if he didn't get it paid for that day, it was going to get shut off. And I didn't want to I didn't want to lose contact with him. And the car was I wasn't going to drive it wrecked, like all the way.
Baloney. That's a fib. All you have to do is have his name. You call the police. You say he was in an accident with my car. It was a hit and run. Somebody hit the car. Police come. They take his name. They take his address. I guarantee you he doesn't need a cell phone in order for you to stay in contact with him. So that's a lot of baloney. You know it and I know it. What do you want to say? You want to say something in defense of that?
In defense of Mira, if I could.
In defense of that baloney that she let him drive the car again after he wrecked it?
No.
Of course not. You don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
Right. There is no defense for that, right?
I agree.
Good.
Basically, one thing I was just trying to say is that, I mean, basically from the beginning of the whole situation when we first talked, I told her that I did not want to use the car, and I personally would not take responsibility.
Roman, listen to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I don't see why you don't.
We take responsibility for our actions. When somebody coerces you, threatens you with physical harm, sometimes people have to do things that they would ordinarily not do. If what you want me to believe is you were coerced into using this car because this young woman begged you, pleaded with you, wouldn't take no for an answer, and if you want me to accept that as an excuse, I will not.
No, that's not what I'm saying. If you let me finish, you'll hear what I'm saying. I personally just did not, regardless if it's my friend, if it was her, if it's any friend, if I do not have insurance, which I do not, and at the time I was going through problems with my car and my insurance and payments on that, I let her know. You see what I'm saying? That I did not have, no, just let me finish.
You said it before, and I'm telling you, you're a liar. At 4 o'clock in the morning, when you said this happened, you don't have a conversation with her and say to her, I'm going to take your car, and I'm going to first drop off my book bag at my house. Then I'll go pick up your friend. But by the way, I'm having trouble with my car and my own insurance, so therefore I don't have insurance. I hope you have insurance. Does that sound right to you as the parent of teenagers? It's inconsistent with Bird's and my experience as a parent.
You're still not understanding what I'm saying.
Oh, I'm understanding you. Oh, believe me. I'm understanding you. You know what I'm understanding? Shh. You know what I'm understanding? What? You had an accident, and you got to pay for the car. You were driving, your fault.
But
you were driving, your fault. Because if a Cadillac is in front of me swerving, what you do is you very slowly put on the brake. You slow down to about 20 miles an hour, and you let the Cadillac get really far in front of you because it's 4 o'clock in the morning. They probably had a whole bunch to drink, and you want to stay as far away from them as possible. That's what you do when you're an adult and when you are driving defensively. However, when you're a 21-year-old idiot, right, then you get right on the behind of the Cadillac, you move around, they change lanes, you change lanes, and all of a sudden you get into an accident. Not on purpose. You didn't mean to destroy her car, but you destroyed her car. She doesn't have collision insurance. She has liability insurance, which means that if you had killed somebody, that insurance would have had to have been responsible. But because you just wrecked the car, who was supposed to be responsible? Mrs. Cromwell, who was taking care of funeral arrangements? Her granddaughter, who was at the house, was nowhere near this accident? Or you, who had just taken care of your own chore, dropping off your own bag in your own house at 4 o'clock in the morning? Who do you think should be responsible? Or Byrd, who was home in his house sleeping at 4 o'clock in the morning? You think about that, not you.
First, I'm telling you, Regardless,
Cute.
I did not take responsibility for the car from the beginning. I told her that before I left. I didn't need you can laugh about it.
Let me ask you a question, sir.
It might be funny, but I mean it's not.
No,
really.
it's not. You're not
It's
funny. I want to tell you something. You're not funny. How many times has your license been suspended?
Once.
How did I know that?
How'd you know that?
Yeah, how did I know that?
Probably because they looked up my license and brought you papers and did that Shmuel?
Really?
I mean,
Just a second. Just a second. Is that what you think? You think that they looked up your record and they brought me papers?
Well, I'm sure, possibly. I mean,
No, I'm telling you, sir, that's not how I know that your driver's license had been suspended at age 21.
Then you tell
At
me.
least once.
You let me know.
How did I know?
I don't.
Because I'm smart.
That's
it. You want to know something? Even Byrd knew your license had been suspended at least once. You want to know why?
Why is that?
Because he's smart. The only one who just don't get it is you. When you destroy somebody's property, you have to pay for it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,012.93. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
What's your first name?
Jennifer.
How old are you, Jennifer?
I'm 18. I just turned 18 3 days ago.
Order.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
How old are you, Mr. Roberts?
23.
What's your first name?
Raymond.
Jennifer, Raymond was your boyfriend.
Yep.
You claim he owes you some money. Not a whole lot of money. $300 some odd.
Yep.
You said he owes you the money for the following two items. You gave him $100 in which to put down as a deposit for the limousine for your senior prom.
That's right.
And you had an argument, and he kept the money, and he didn't take you to the prom. And you acknowledged that you kept the $100.
I guess I did.
And then you say that over the course of your relationship, you sold candy for school, and he took your candy money. And about that, Mr. Roberts says, she took me out for dinner, and we went places together.
That's not true.
I'm just telling you what he says. That's his answer. Then you say that he came to your house when you weren't home with a police officer and took a Christmas gift that he had bought you.
That's right.
Which was?
Supposedly it was a stereo. I did buy a stereo, but it was not a gift.
A stereo that was in her house.
A stereo that was at her house.
And you took that and you want the value of that back, or the stereo back.
Yep.
You say it was a Christmas gift.
Yep, it was.
Now, Raymond says that you owed him money for a Sprint bill.
That's not true.
Just telling you what he says. And that he merely was collecting on that. That's what the $100 was for?
Yep,
as
100,
well
yeah.
as the stereo.
The stereo, no. The stereo was mine. I was taking it back.
And Raymond is counterclaiming, he said, because you and your mother sort of overreacted to a little argument you were having and had him arrested for kidnapping you.
He was never arrested.
Shh. And he was forced to defend these charges temporarily, right?
Right.
How old was she when you started to date her, Raymond?
17.
And how old were you?
At the time I was 22.
Not terrible, not terrific. What did she owe you money for?
She owes me money for the Sprint bill for the 2 months.
Now, how is it that you're paying her Sprint bill?
I have 2 phones, and I let her use one of my other phones. And we agreed that...
Just a minute. You got a phone for yourself.
Yes, I've got
And
a
you
phone.
gave her a phone.
Yes, under my name.
And when did you do that? How long ago?
I think it might have been sometime in October. I might have gave her the phone, September, October.
She was 17.
Correct.
And you had an agreement with her.
Yes.
And what was your agreement?
That I would split the bill in half. I'd pay my half, she'd pay her half.
That's not right.
So what you're telling me is you had a verbal contract with her.
Correct.
You can't.
Can't.
Right. She's not old enough. She's not old enough to make that contract. She has to be 18 in order to make a contract that's valid and binding. So, Raymond, that's one of the downsides of dating a younger woman.
I'm learning that now.
So she owes you diddly.
Okay.
So let's start with, you owe her $100 for the limousine.
Okay.
So $100, Jennifer, is on your side.
Yep.
Now, I don't want to hear about the candy money. I want you to forget the candy money. If you were dumb enough to give him candy money or to spend candy money, I don't want to hear about it. Yes, you want to say something? It sounded like you were winning the candy money.
No, she still has belongings of mine at her house.
I'm not there yet.
Okay.
We are now on the stereo
All right.
that she says was a Christmas present, and you said was just yours.
This is fine.
When did you get the stereo?
Christmas Eve was put in my house, and my mom was actually there. And he actually said to her, you know, this is a Christmas gift. I bought it for her.
And it was in your house starting Christmas time?
Yep.
When did you take it out of the house?
I think it was like March.
So, December to January, January to February, February to March. It was in her house for 3 months.
Correct.
Who do you live with?
My grandparents.
Do you have your own room?
Yes.
You have a stereo?
No.
So if you bought the stereo in December, I assume that that's what the receipt says, that it was purchased in December?
Correct.
What date in December?
17th, which she was with me.
If it was purchased in December and you don't have a stereo in your room, why didn't you take it to your house?
I was letting her use it.
Baloney. Let me see the bill. You have the perks of a younger woman. You have to have the plagues of a younger woman. Plague is she's not old enough to make a contract. Okay, so this whole thing cost $189?
Correct.
Where's the stereo now?
At my house.
In your?
In my room.
In your room?
In my room.
Where it would have been from the very beginning if it was bought for you. Now, a couple of other questions just for my own information, sir. What did Jennifer get you for Christmas?
Electric shaver and a couple of shirts.
A couple of shirts?
Yes.
What did you get for Jennifer for Christmas? See what I mean? Got where I'm going?
Yeah.
Raymond? Got where I'm going?
Yes, I do.
Good. So we have $289 on your side, because now Raymond gets it. Right, Raymond?
Yes.
Didn't think fast enough.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get to your counterclaim.
Okay.
You had an argument in the car.
Correct.
What date?
March 5th to be exact.
And the argument was about your being cheap?
If you want to put it that way.
What?
If you want to put it that way.
Well, that's what it was about. You're being cheap. You're mooching off her. I mean, I read the complaint.
No, I wasn't mooching off her. I was just asking her for, you know, simple money for the bill. That's all.
That's what she was complaining. Don't play with paper around me. So you're having the argument in the car.
Correct.
And what happened?
We got in a major argument about money, both the Sprint bill and everything. And she said, oh, I'm not going to pay for the bill. I don't have to pay for the bill. You know, I was like, well, you used the phone. You know, I think you should be responsible for the charge if you're going to use the phone. And she said no, and I says, fine. You want to be that way towards me? I will take the limo money, and I'll use that limo money to cover your part of the bill since you want to pay me the money. And we'll take it from there. It'll be fine. Well, from that point on, she decided to call her mother and say I was threatening her, made a huge big deal out of everything. She said, bring me home, bring me home, bring me home. I said, fine, I'll bring you home. When she told me she wasn't going to pay the bill, when she was on the phone with her mother, I actually called Sprint, and I had the phone shut off right then and there. And I guess that's when her mother panicked and decided to call the state police and the cops, and I had the cops.
That was really stupid of you, Raymond.
Yeah.
Girl is talking to her mother,
Yeah.
right? So her mother knows she's safe, she's well. You pick up your cell phone and you call Sprint and you say, cut off the other number?
If that was my phone,
I was.
how can I cut it off?
Listen, don't speak.
I
I'm
was
not talking to you.
All right.
I was not expecting them to shut off right then and there, because I didn't think they could shut off.
What
the
did you
phone with
say to
phone
them
service.
to have them shut it off right then and there?
I asked them if they could
curious.
shut off the service, and no, basically you can't have incoming or outgoing calls.
And they said, okay?
They said fine. I didn't think they could do it during a phone call. My mistake.
Well, you found out that they could.
Yeah, I did the hard way.
Tell me what happened. Were you arrested? Were you
No, I
charged with anything?
No, I was not arrested.
Well, then what happened? So
Just
what
an
do you...
embarrassment of a false restraining order because
Okay, so they took out a restraining order against you?
took out a restraining order on me a couple days later.
You have a copy of the allegations that you made in the restraining order? Raymond,
Yes,
you ever been arrested before?
a long time ago.
How long ago?
Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe.
Nothing since.
Nothing.
You work? You have
Yes, I
a
work.
nice job?
Decent job.
What do you do?
Actually, I'm training to be a manager at McDonald's right now.
So you're working at McDonald's?
Correct.
Okay. You don't look like a bad guy, Raymond. You don't look like you have a bad temper. Does he have a bad temper?
Oh, yes.
Never touched you, did he?
No.
You have a bad temper?
No.
Huh?
No.
She have a bad temper?
She has her moments. she has her moments
Yeah,
that she
When
can
I'm
flip
with
out.
you.
Oh.
Well, either you have
Oh,
a
hey.
temper or you don't have a temper. You understand? Daughter sometimes has a temper?
Yeah.
Sometimes. You think you overreacted to this a little bit?
I don't. I was scared if he shut off my cell phone.
Well, see, Raymond, that was your mistake. Do you understand?
Yes.
That was really your mistake. Aside from the fact that when this happened, she was 17. Dating a minor is an issue. I can imagine how her mother felt. She's talking to her daughter. Her daughter's a 17-year-old idiot who's in the car, is having a fight about whatever. And all of a sudden, no, don't speak. And all of a sudden, that conversation is interrupted and she can't get back to her daughter. One day you'll have a daughter. You will understand what that must feel like. You understand?
Yes.
The charges were dropped on this protective order?
Yeah. 2 weeks later on the date that we're supposed to, see if it was going to get extended or not, it got dropped.
Right. Because everybody got cooler. Good. Okay. So, Raymond, next time you'll be smarter. Next time, pick on somebody your own age. You'll be much happier. Look at their birth certificate. Make sure that they're 18 or over before you make a contract with them. Understood?
Understood.
Oh, you get $289. $100 for the limo. $189 for his Christmas present that he took back. You, on your counterclaim, get nothing but a good lesson. All right? Thank you very much. Two nice people. Move on with your life. Have a happy life.
Please excuse. You may step out.
He was a very controlling guy, and I just figured put it on national television to see the whole world how controlling he is.
It's okay. It sounds fair. My mistake.
I didn't like him from the beginning because she was only 17.
My mother doesn't know how to stay out of things.
When he wanted her to go somewhere, she had to do it.
She's always trying to tell me what to do.
If he didn't want her to go, she couldn't do it.
Not seeing a 23-year-old again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sarah Borden versus Taylor Marquez. Step forward, please.
19-year-old barista Devin Serra and her boyfriend, Michael Borden, are suing their former roommates, 20-year-old cashier Angela Marquez and her boyfriend, Gary Taylor, for breaking a lease. Angela says she moved out because she was scared to live with Devin.
The two of you decided to lease an apartment with the two of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Leased the apartment when?
December 11th in 2004.
Moved in when?
That same day.
That was fast. How big an apartment?
It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
You're not married?
No.
You're not married?
No,
You're going to have a baby?
Yes.
Well, everything's... You're all friends, right? Yes. When did you move out?
January 28th, 2005.
Okay, and you want 3 months' rent from them?
Yes.
Because you're stuck with the lease?
Yeah.
And you also say that when they moved out, they took some property that didn't belong to them.
Yes, they did.
You'll tell me about that in a minute. And you say you had to move out because she threatened you, and they both told you to go, and you just went. And you couldn't be stressed out because you're pregnant.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are you?
20.
How old are you?
I'm 20, Your Honor.
Do you have a job?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you work at?
I'm a firefighter.
And you?
Cashier.
Two 20-year-olds having a baby? That would make me nervous.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She grabs the salt and the pepper. She throws it against the wall. She comes after me, in my face, picking up her hands like she was going to come after me and hit me.
Oy, 20 years old and you're having a child.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Devin Serra and her boyfriend Michael Borden claim former roommates Angela Marquez and her boyfriend Gary Taylor owe for breaking a lease.
Okay. Are you still living in the apartment?
Yes, we are.
Do you have new roommates?
Not yet.
How much is the rent?
$865 a month.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a barista.
A what?
A barista.
What's a barista?
I work at Starbucks. Cashier, make drinks.
Yeah, they make burritos and stuff.
Oh, barista. No, really, seriously.
A barista, yeah.
Is that what it's called, a barista?
Yes.
So you work at Starbucks full-time?
Part-time.
What else do you do?
I'm a student.
How much do you make from working as a barista?
I make $7.20 an hour.
How much do you take home every week?
Every 2 weeks, I make about $200.
And that's what you support yourself on?
Myself, yeah.
And what about you?
Seasonal firefighter.
Seasonal firefighter?
Seasonal firefighter.
What does that mean?
Work with the Forest Service, so I wildland firefighting, just with the summer.
What do you do the rest of the time?
Right now, I'm working as an athletic trainer.
You train people individually or what?
It's with the high school.
How much do you make?
It's $12.66 an hour, and I bring home about $2,000, a little over $2,000 a month.
Okay, so you can afford the rent?
Yes.
Great. You're going to stay in this apartment?
Yes.
Why don't you sign off on the lease?
We did, Your Honor. We tried.
No, you either did or you tried.
We did.
You did sign off on the lease.
My fiance had gone to the manager's office and asked for a release form. And we showed it to them, and they said they weren't going to sign us off if we didn't pay the February rent.
You left there because of your own safety, is that right?
Yes.
You had security deposit.
Yes, Your Honor.
How much security deposit did you put down?
$250.
That's for both of you, was the security deposit?
It was actually $450, but in half, it was about $225 each on deposit from each couple.
From each couple?
From each couple.
Okay. You moved out January 28th. Why shouldn't you be responsible for February's rent? They certainly couldn't find somebody else in 2 days to rent the apartment.
Because January, I would say the 21st, on January is a Sunday. I had like the last straw with them. I was like in a mood that I couldn't talk to them. I didn't want to just go out there and say stuff. And so finally I told Mike if we could talk. And he said, sure, meet us for dinner here at the house and we'll talk. So we talked about it. We sat there. I went first and I told her how I felt and everybody. And then she went and she said how she felt and whatnot. Well, all of a sudden, she went crazy. She went out of this world. She pulled out of her chair. She started screaming and saying, I'm not happy that you're pregnant. It's not fair that you're pregnant. I had an abortion. I did this and this and this and that. And she thought, it's my fault that I brought you together and you're pregnant. You're going to suffer and you're this and that. And then she just pulls out of her chair. She grabs the salt and the pepper. She throws it against the wall. She goes back to her room screaming and just going crazy. She comes back out of her room throwing stuff, just hitting walls and whatnot. She comes after me. Like she was this close for me, in my face, picking up her hands like she was going to come after me and hit me. Then
what was she saying to you?
Saying that she couldn't take it anymore. She didn't like living with me and Gary, that she hated the fact that I was pregnant, and she had to see me happy. She didn't want to see me happy. And I was like, okay, why don't you want to see me happy?
Oy, 20 years old and you're having a child.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Now, why were you upset?
We were all upset.
I assume you were all upset.
Yeah.
Good. I don't want to be upset.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be upset. Where are you living now?
We're living somewhere else now, in another apartment.
They signed off on the lease on January 25th.
That was the date I got the papers, and that was the day I wanted all of us to get the signatures so we can get off the lease.
Did you or did you not sign off on the lease?
We signed it, and they had to sign it. The manager told us, we cannot get you off the lease unless they sign you off because they're still staying there.
Fine. Court will draft an order 5 days from today. Do you all live in the same town?
Yes.
Yes.
You're all going to meet in the landlord's office, 9 a.m. Sign the release form. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
I am going to award you their share of February's rent. Because they had an obligation to pay at least 1 month's rent for you to spend that month looking for a new roommate if that's what you wanted to do. I think that that's fair, don't you?
Yes, Your Honor.
When you sign off on the lease, you will also get a check for $250 for your security deposit. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
If you don't go there 5 days from today, I'm giving the plaintiffs the right to come back and ask for a judgment for the remainder of the lease. And they will take it out of your pay. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand the order?
Yes.
Good. Now, let's get to what property you say they took when they moved out.
When they were moved out, they took a lot of belongings and stuff.
Oh,
when they moved
a
out.
lot of belongings doesn't help me, madam.
They took food, they took
I don't
cleaning
care.
supplies.
Are you kidding me or what? Other than food and cleaning supplies.
That's all they took.
I hope you've replaced them. You don't want the food back, do you?
No.
Good. Okay, you understand the order?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
What I read in your complaint.
Yes, Your Honor.
You plan different kinds of trips.
I'm actually a club promoter, not an event coordinator.
Well, but you were planning trips.
Yes.
This particular event was a trip.
Yes.
Mrs. Morante wanted to plan a weekend with some friends, and she answered your ad. Your ad was for what kind of a weekend, Miss Morante?
Freestyle ski trip.
What does that mean?
Freestyle is a type of music, like classical or disco. It's a certain type of music.
Would somebody my age like that kind of music?
Not at all.
You answered that very fast, Miss Morante. Do you know what freestyle music is?
I have no idea.
Can you hum something in freestyle?
No, I don't really want to.
Okay. Anyway, and that was the ad that you placed, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you signed up, you gave them a deposit.
Correct.
And how much was the deposit?
$250. $50 per girl. There were 5 girls.
2 days? Saturday,
yes, from
Sunday?
Friday night arrival, Sunday morning departure.
So 2 nights?
Correct.
Okay. And she paid you?
Yes, she did.
She went on the weekend eventually, even though the date was changed.
The ski trip that I had promoted for was canceled. The date wasn't changed. The freestyle event was canceled for that weekend.
That I never knew about.
Okay.
Until now, today.
That was canceled.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you planned something else. Why was that canceled?
Okay, it was canceled due to the lack of people. We couldn't get people to go on the ski trip weekend.
Because nobody knows what it is. So then you planned something else.
No. What I did, I put them on a different ski trip for the following weekend.
Without our knowledge.
Well, just a second. You planned something else for them.
I gave them an alternative. I gave them two alternatives. I gave them, alternative number one was give them their deposit of $250 back.
That's a lie.
Shh.
Or I could put them on the second week.
Just a second. Shh, listen to me. She gave you the $250.
She mailed it to me, the deposit of $250.
Okay. So you had her address.
Yes, I did.
Can I see the letter that you sent her indicating that you were canceling the freestyle weekend, but you were giving her two options? Can I see that letter?
There was no letter.
That's all I wanted.
Thank you.
There was no letter. But one way or another, you got on this second weekend that they had planned, you and 4 friends.
Me and 3 other girls.
You and 3 other girls.
One was soon to be my sister-in-law.
Please, I don't need that information.
Okay.
I have a very, very busy day today. And you say it was a trip from hell.
It was a disaster.
Can I see the ad for the weekend?
The original that I picked up?
The original.
This is the original.
The original? That's the only one that he's got? Because...
No, I received the second one.
Oh, you did receive it?
At the hotel.
Oh, okay. Not before you went?
Not before I went.
Okay. So tell me, now this looks like a very nice promotion.
Yes.
This is what you've sent out, right?
Yes, I was sub-promoting for that, yes.
Good. And what you're suing for, sir, is she stopped payment on the $940.
Yes, she did, and I have the check right here.
I believe you. She doesn't deny it. She says that it was a disaster. So I'm going to hear her. Okay. Tell me why it was a disaster.
Okay. Prior to leaving for the trip, Brian changed the dates on us 1 week in advance.
You went. You didn't have to go.
Okay.
You went.
We went to the bus location with him saying that he was going to meet us there Friday evening at about 6 p.m. with about 4 or 5 buses waiting to hurl 500 people up to this freestyle music weekend. There's no Brian. There's only 2 buses. We were not on any kind of list, my name or any of the girls that were with me, to get on the bus. We had to sit there and talk to people that did not know who we were.
So you first had a problem with the organization.
Right.
You finally got on a bus.
We finally got on a bus. The minute we sat down, we smelled marijuana. We refused to sit on a bus with marijuana for our health reasons, and we weren't planning this kind of ghetto weekend. We were trying to go away to have a nice weekend trip. And this was not something that I would ever be interested in.
Okay.
So we complained. They opened up the vent on the bus and sprayed air freshener. I walked right off the bus with the 3 girls.
Okay.
Called my husband, called Brian. He did not pick up his cell phone. He didn't show up.
What did you do next?
I complained to the bus drivers. I complained to the other promoters who never heard of me, who didn't even know who Brian was. And they told us
get on another bus?
They made us get on another bus. Correct.
Was that bus okay?
That bus had a lot of drinking and cursing. It was better than the marijuana, but it was not acceptable once we were en route.
Did you get to where you were going?
We did, without being able to use the bathroom, all 3 girls.
When you got to where you were going, tell me about the accommodations that you had.
We walked in. People from the first bus were mimicking, saying things to us because we complained about the pot smoking. They were saying we were troublemakers.
I'm not interested in what they were saying about you. I'm interested in the accommodations.
Okay, well, the accommodations was a room that, had 2 double beds. We were, all 4 girls staying in the same room together.
Did you stay?
We stayed in the hotel room with the doors locked, towels under the door because of the marijuana.
You stayed in the hotel?
Correct, we did.
Why didn't you go home?
I had no way of getting home. He came and picked me up, and he cut his bachelor party short because he was in Atlantic City with my brother and the rest of the guys. And he had to drive over 3 hours to come pick me up, and we had to go home with him squished like sardines in a truck, 4 girls and suitcases and everything, because we refused to get back on the bus with the people that was ghetto that we would not want to be around. Going home another 3 hours. We were not allowed to use the bathroom in the bus unless we took alcohol shots from strangers. It's ridiculous.
Listen to me. I don't understand.
You find it funny. I don't think it's funny.
Miss Moranti, listen to me.
You weren't there.
Miss Moranti, listen to me. I don't understand why you would stay in the hotel.
Well, there was.
She's lying, Your Honor.
I'm lying? You weren't even there.
No.
Okay?
Mr. Man, if you can't behave yourself, that's not going to bode well for your success in this case. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you supposed to be on this trip Mr. Mann?
I was going, originally I was going to go, but I'm in the National Guard, and I had drill that weekend.
Show me. I believe you're in the National Guard. Show me that you were on a drill that weekend.
My drill assembly schedule was at home, but I let Joanne know and I let Liz know.
No, you did not.
Just a second. Did you tell them before you took their money that you weren't going to be there?
I told them when they came to make the final payment that I wasn't going to be there.
That's a lie. I never made final
just a second.
She never made final payment with me. Liz came to my place of business and was going to make final payment, and that's when I let them know that the ski trip was canceled, and I would give them two options. Option number one, I'd give them back the deposit.
How much profit did you make on this, sir?
I made $50 off each girl, so I made $200.
And you were the subcontractor?
I was the sub-promoter, yes.
Because you said, I'll get a certain number of bodies for you to go.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
That's how it works, yes.
Did you explain that to Miss Moranti, that you were not promoting this, that you were
I told her I was a sub-promoter. The main promoter is on top of the flyer.
And he wasn't there.
Just a second. All I want to know is, did you tell Miss Moranti that this was not something that you were organizing and promoting?
Yes.
You were merely saying that. Is that right?
Yes.
No, he told me he was a promoter, and his phone number's on that card.
If you're going to be fixed with what's in your head and not listen to my question, you're not helping yourself.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't hear it.
Because you're not listening, you have to put on your listening ears.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have a counterclaim for your pain and suffering. And right now, what you're being to me is a pain. And I'm suffering.
And later today.
What a con artist. I mean, does she think that we're stupid, that she's going to be able to resolve this issue with those kind of answers?
Hope springs eternal.
Sit down, April.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Promoter Brian Manthorn says former client Joanne Morante owes for the balance on a weekend ski trip. Joanne says the trip was unsafe.
Did the plaintiff ever tell you that he was not in charge of promoting this event?
No, he didn't.
Listening ears, that somebody else was in charge of promoting this event, and all he was doing was providing bodies at $50 a person.
No, he didn't.
Of course not. Don't fib to me, sir.
Your Honor.
Listen to me. Did you tell her that this was not your gig, that you didn't know anything about it, but that you were getting $50 a head for every person that you brought in?
I didn't tell her what I was getting. I told her that I was sub-promoting. Yes, I did. I didn't tell her that I was.
You're a
tell her what I was
Swiftie.
making.
I don't believe you. Did he tell you that?
No.
Of course not. I don't believe you. That's a fib.
Thank you.
Well, Your Honor, I also have a tape. She's claiming something about the bus ride. I also have a tape that Liz left on my voicemail message about the bus ride. Can I play it?
Absolutely.
Saved voice message.
Hey, what's up? Just wanted to call you that,
Is that
now
Liz?
we've been happy. They changed us bus, which is
Yeah.
much better than what we were before. And what I was trying to say before was like, it was like really, really ghetto and
See?
like, I don't know, it just felt like weed and stuff, which is like, I don't know. But now they changed us to another bus, so much better. So we're like more happier. So if anything, I'll talk to you. All right, bye.
That's exactly what she said.
Yes, and that was
She
before.
said that the second bus. She said the second bus. She had to drink and everything like that.
That's correct. To use the bathroom.
She
How
said
ghetto.
the second bus was better. Why should she have to tolerate the first bus?
Absolutely, I agree with her 100%.
Good. Then you get nothing. Stick with what you know, sir. Sounds to me like she had a horror show of a weekend. It was so bad that she wouldn't return on the bus back home, and she asked her husband, who will vouch for that, I assume, to cut his weekend short, to come and pick up the 4 girls because they were so put off by what was going on with the bus that they didn't want to take the bus home. Why do you think she would do that if it wasn't miserable?
Because she calls me a con artist.
You are. You are.
Okay, if I'm such a con artist,
You are.
if I'm such a,
you are.
Your Honor, if I'm such a con artist,
You are.
if I'm such a con artist, then when she wrote me these checks, I would have cashed them the day of.
That's your problem.
I never
tell
did
him
that.
when to cash the checks.
Absolutely, she
Your
did.
counterclaim's dismissed.
She absolutely did. She said.
Do you understand?
I guess.
You guess. You know why?
No.
Very easy. Because you have a counterclaim for your pain and suffering. And
And
right
false
now, what you're being to me is a pain. And I'm suffering. Because I already told you that this is a court. And in a court, when I look at you, you testified he was quiet. So your counterclaim is dismissed. That's your punishment.
It's a big punishment.
It is. It absolutely is. So you got $250 deposit. That check went through. Is that right?
Yes, it went through.
You
Because
got $50 a person for how many people?
for 4 people.
That's $200. That's $450. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How much money are you out?
I'm out $940 minus $200.
That's right.
That'd be $7.
That's what you're out. Don't do it again. Stick with what you know. If you con somebody into thinking that they're going to have a great weekend and they have a miserable weekend, there has to be consequences. That's your consequence, $750. You count the claims dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Brian's a con artist. He got what he deserved.
Outrage that somebody can pay for something, spend the whole entire weekend, and still get away with not paying for it.
It was just horrible. It was terrible. There was marijuana going on.
Marijuana use is illegal. She had the choice to get off that bus.
It was out of control, ghetto, something that I would never take part of.
When she seen that it was so ghetto, quote unquote, she could have left. She chose to keep going.
He deceived me from the beginning.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Liebhardt versus Malone. Step forward.
19-year-old student Angela Liebhardt is suing her ex-boyfriend, automotive technician Michael Malone, for the return of her furniture and for throwing away her computer. Michael says the computer had a virus.
Miss Liebhardt, you and the defendant lived together for a brief period of time and claimed that when you moved out, you left some of your stuff there for the defendant to store. You don't want it back anymore. And then there was a computer that Mr. Malone says he got tired of storing and it was broken anyway, so he threw it out. Okay. When did you meet him?
I met him in December of '03.
Where?
At a bar that a friend of mine owns.
How soon did you move in with him?
It was almost immediately.
What does that mean? That mean that night, the next day?
It was probably about a week or so.
What made you make such a precipitous move?
It was an error in judgment.
Okay. What did you bring with you?
I brought my bed with me. Things were given to me during the relationship. The computer was given to me approximately a month before we broke up.
By whom?
My grandmother.
Was it a new computer?
Yes, brand new.
How old were you when you moved in with him?
18.
How old are you?
29.
29. All right. When you moved out in June?
Yep.
Under what circumstances?
He told me to leave.
Did he say why?
We were done.
You weren't getting along anymore?
Yeah.
Why did you leave the computer?
I was leaving town for a few days, and I asked him if it was okay if I left my stuff there for a few days. He told me it was all right. I could leave it there as long as I needed, and I've attempted to get it back on numerous occasions, and he's never there.
Well, after you left in June, when was the first time that you attempted to get your computer and furniture back?
It was 3 days after I moved out.
Tell me what you did.
I called him up, and he wasn't home, and I told him that that's when I would be back in town, is in 3 days.
So you called him up, he wasn't home?
Yes.
So, what'd you do next?
I waited a few days and called him again.
And did you speak to him?
I made an appointment to go and get my stuff with him.
So that was about, let's say, a week later. You made an appointment to go and get your stuff?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Are you making it up as you're going along, or is that the truth as you remember it?
Angela Liebhardt says ex-boyfriend Michael Malone threw away her computer. Michael says the computer was junk.
Step up. What is your last name?
Renee Williams.
Okay. Miss Williams, when for the first time did you contact Mr. Malone?
I started attempting to call him in October.
Did you ever speak to him?
There was a couple times. One time we set a time to meet. At that time he had...
To meet to do what?
So that I could get Angela's stuff for her.
What furniture is there?
There is like a china cabinet and like a hutch type thing, like a buffet.
Something that's wooden?
Thing. Yes, 2 wooden things.
Okay. Where are her 2 wooden chests that she has?
They're in the back room at my house.
Okay, you have no objection if she comes and gets those, do you?
No, not at all.
Good. 5 days from today, you may bring a peace officer if you wish. There'll be an order. Those 2 items are to be in the front of the house. Do you understand?
Yes.
5 days from today, 9 a.m. You'll get a formal order of that. With regard to the computer, sir, you're going to have to convince me why you don't owe her $1,073.67 for the computer.
At first, I had no problem with them getting the computer. Then the computer broke, and we were getting ready to move, and it was junk to me. I've had them say, you can come get it, you can do whatever.
Well, at that point, it was junk, sir, because if you were using it, and if it broke while you were using it, you're responsible for it.
He didn't say that we could come get it. First, he told her that it was at his mom's. Then his wife told me that it was stolen, and now he's saying that it's junk.
Step up. Your name?
April Malone.
April? Mm-hmm. Did you ever tell Miss Williams that the computer was stolen?
Yes, that's what I had known that it was. I didn't know that.
What do you mean you had known? That's what you had known that it was. Explain that to me.
I was told that it was stolen. I didn't know that it was broken.
Who told you that it was stolen?
Some of his family members.
What about him? You didn't ask him?
No.
You didn't say to your husband what happened to you? His family members told you it was stolen? April, look at me. She says to you, where's the computer? You say to her, it's stolen.
I don't know anything about the computer. To my knowledge, I knew it was stolen.
Well, just a second. You're living with your husband, right, April?
Yes.
So it had to be your husband that told you it was stolen.
I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about this relationship.
Are you listening to what I'm saying? I'm not asking you about relationship. Pay careful attention. You don't get off the hook, because I shake it until I get the truth. That if you told her the computer is stolen, you got that from your husband.
I'm not sure who I got it from. I tried resolving this problem. I offered to claim it on our home insurance policy. I called them, and I had called my father-in-law because I did not know who the insurance policy was through. I still don't.
So what did you do? You called your father-in-law and said, I want to know who our insurance carrier is, right?
Yes, I tried that.
What do you mean when you tried? So did you get an answer?
No, I did not.
Why didn't you get an answer? They don't want to talk to you?
My father-in-law is only home like once a week. He travels.
God. What a con artist. I mean, does she think that we're stupid, that she's going to be able to resolve this issue with those kind of answers?
Hope springs eternal.
Sit down, April. Does it embarrass you to stand up in front of 10 million people and appear to be so foolish?
No.
How many children?
What I could do.
Let me ask you a question. How many children do you have?
I don't have any children.
Try keeping it that way.
I plan on it.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,073.67. 5 days from today, you can go get your property. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Or his mother.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you lived for a period of time with your boyfriend and his mother, and you made each of them a series of loans. His mother at some point told you to leave the house. You left. You want your money. Each of the defendants say that they owe you nothing. Money that you gave Miss Neary was for expenses, your expenses while you lived in the house. And her son James says anything that you gave him were gifts because he took care of certain things for you. When did you move in with Miss Neary and her son?
In June of 2004.
And what were you doing at the time?
At the time, I was working for Forever 21.
Now tell me about the first loan you made to Mrs. Neary.
The loan I had made to Mrs. Neary was for $2,000. She said she had needed it for the down payment on the house that we were going to move into. She stated that she had asked her dad to borrow the money, and he had said no, and that I was the last resort, and if I couldn't loan her the money, we would have nowhere to live.
Where had you been living?
I had been living with them in an apartment.
So you all wanted to move someplace else together. Did you sign the lease?
Yes, I did.
On the new place?
On the new place, yes. I was told that I was not going to be a renter on the house, and that the only reason why I needed to sign the paperwork was because I was over 18.
You have a copy of the lease?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Well, the three of you were clearly on the lease, right?
Yeah.
So you know, I mean, you read this document, didn't you?
I didn't read the whole thing, no.
Why not?
Because she said she needed it signed, and so she stated that...
Miss Ellsworth, you go to school?
Yes.
What school do you go to?
Bakersfield College.
I assume that at least in your spare time when you were younger, you watched a little television?
Yes, I do.
You watched enough courtroom television to know that you're not supposed to sign something that you don't read?
Yes.
So let's not play with each other. So you signed it.
Yes.
And you should have read it. And if you didn't read it, that's not my problem.
Yeah. I did pay rent on the house.
Until you were evicted?
Yes, pretty much.
How much was security and the deposit on this apartment?
I think altogether was like $1,800. I'm not quite sure.
$1,850?
Yeah.
Where'd you get that money from?
From her, because the reason why we had to move from the apartment is I was at the apartment for over a year already. I came home one day from work, and she was living in my apartment. I told my son, look, this cannot work. You know, I don't want her living here. You know, she has a home. She told me she had nowhere to go because her mom was an abusive mother. So, you know, I kind of felt sorry for her. So the next thing I knew, her dog Louie, she has a little dog Louie, he was tearing up the curtains and everything. So I'm a single mommy. I couldn't just come up with that money just to move. So, I had no choice. I asked my dad, and my dad goes, well, it's your fault. You should have never let her move in. Why you have to move? Because the reason why we had to move, because she wasn't on the lease. It was breach of contract, they said.
I can understand if you're moving in together, she's on the lease, she should pay a third of $1,850.
Okay, we moved in that home after we got kicked out of the apartment.
Listen to me. You don't have to get kicked out of the apartment. All you have to do is put the two of them out. And you can stay.
Right. Well,
he's not going anywhere without her. You could stay. Put them out.
No, she said we had to move.
Listen to me. $1,850. Only a third of that. She's on the lease. Only a third of that is hers.
Right.
Why did you throw her out?
I didn't throw her out. She was there. Her and my son were always arguing. It got to the point where I'd come out of work and I didn't want to go home anymore. She was possessive with my son, very possessive with my son.
Did you tell her to leave?
I did not tell her she had to leave. She got upset because I came home one day, the place was dirty. I figured if I'm working, in their home, they should at least have the place clean. We got in an argument. My son heard me say, me and my son were arguing. She got up and she left. I didn't verbally say, oh, Aubrey, you have to leave.
She had told me all the time that I had brought sin into her house and that I was bringing chaos and that she didn't want me living there. Her son told me numerous times, I don't have to leave, it's you that has to leave. My mom doesn't want you living here. She threatened to kick him out all the time. She threatened to kick me out all the time just to have, in my opinion, a control.
What?
First of all, my mom never kicked her out. Me and Aubrey used to argue a lot. Yeah, we did.
So it's a good thing she left, right?
No, I don't know if it's a good thing.
Listen to what I said. Stop thinking about what you're going to say next and start listening to my question. So it's a good thing that she left.
Yes.
For the sake of argument,
I'm speaking to you.
Hey.
Yeah, give him a good one.
Okay.
So it's a good thing that she left.
Yes, but she wasn't told to leave.
No, it came to her by mental telepathy, like Karnak, You wanted her to leave, and your mother wanted her to leave.
Honestly, no, I didn't want her to leave. Honestly,
I didn't. He was upset and crying. I didn't ask her to leave because she was still on the lease. It was up to, I think, March. She left on her own. She came out storming, and she left on her own. That's the honest.
All right, you got $1,850, Miss Ellsworth. That she has to give you back. I don't believe. How old are you?
I'm 30, in my 30s, late 30s.
30, in my 30s, late 30s.
Yeah.
What kind of an answer is that? How old are you?
39.
She's 18. You're 21 years her senior. She doesn't support you. You take care of her. All right. Don't go into little things with me. I'm not interested in little things. What does he owe you for?
He owes me for his truck. I helped him fix his truck. I got him a new tire, which was $76. And then I had helped him fix his truck because he had gotten rear-ended February of 2004. He could not...
February of 2004?
Yes.
Where were you for the last year?
I've been trying to collect it. We didn't get the truck, though, starting to fix until September.
Does that make sense to you?
She didn't give me all the money.
What did she give you?
I paid her half of the money back.
What did she give you is my question.
All she gave me was $150 because I paid $150 of it back to her, so it totaled out to $300, and with my $150 coming back to her, it canceled out. And then I went and paid a couple months of rent for her that she didn't pick up on. And this whole thing, we both assumed that we were just going to break it off even like that. Because, we were living together, and it's like, then when we break up, she goes, oh, well, now you owe me for this, and you owe me for that.
Do you want to know something, Mr. Sanchez?
Yeah.
I agree with you. How's that?
I mean,
I agree with you.
I honestly believe if we were still together...
Just a second. Give it to him good. Give it to him good. Miss Neary. Good. Give it to him good. Because he doesn't get it. I just said I agree with you.
Okay.
Stop. I'm on.
Listen to your mother.
Can I just add one last thing, then?
Why do you want to add something? I just said I agree with you. You want to tell her you love her? You want to get married? You want to propose to her here?
No, I already have
Then just listen to your mother. Your mother's telling you to shut up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It wasn't my truck.
Listen, Miss Ellsworth.
You didn't have a car for a while, and I was
Mr.
driving
Sanchez,
you working
you
back.
want your mother to slap you upside the head?
And later today...
She was stealing from the casino.
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody forces you to steal, ma'am.
Well, this gentleman here did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Aubrey Ellsworth says both her ex-boyfriend and his mother owe her money. James Sanchez and Joanne Neri claim Aubrey is controlling and possessive.
When you're in a relationship and you had $100 here and $76 there and $40 there and $50 there, courts don't want to get involved with that if the relationship doesn't work out.
It wasn't my truck.
I don't care whose truck it was. It wasn't my truck.
You drove it.
It was a truck that
Like
you
it was
at
yours?
least rode in. That's what you do when people live together.
Not when it gets impounded. He got it impounded.
Listen, Miss
You didn't
Ellsworth.
have a car for a while, and I was
Mr.
driving
Sanchez,
you working
you
back.
want me to? You want your mother to slap you upside the head?
No.
She's going to do it, right?
Yeah.
Next time he opens his mouth, Miss Neary, give it to him good. You don't have a lawsuit against Mr. Sanchez. Mr. Sanchez and you live together in a monogamous, physical relationship, and I'm certain that during the time that you lived together, you went out to eat, he paid, sometimes you paid, other times you went to a movie, you went to a fair, you went out, he bought you a Frankfurter, he bought you a cup of coffee, you bought him,
I wish
whatever
it were
it
like
is.
that.
Whatever
It's
it
hard
is.
to be like that if you're as jealous as you are. If you weren't so jealous, it could have been better.
No.
Harder!
Harder!
I have a restraining order on him.
Harder! Judgment for the
Aubrey,
plaintiff,
there's
that
a
is
court-
Miss Neary, in the amount of $1,850. Your lawsuit with regard to Mr. Sanchez is dismissed. That's all.
I just excuse me, step out.
He became violent with me and he started stalking me, following me, going to my job.
As far as harassing and stalking, she was the one writing me letters all day in class and following me and my new girlfriend outside of school.
He wanted to marry me, he wanted to be with me, it became an obsession that became violent and physical.
She stalked me a couple times where I had to call the cops on her and almost have her put in jail.
It got to the point to where my work was saying, I'll put the restraining order on him for you if you don't.
She's mad because I don't want to get back with her, and I
20-year-old physical therapy technician Levita Richter is suing her former friend, 21-year-old caregiver Adriana Falk, for bail money, a loan to get her car fixed, and the cost of a bridesmaid's dress.
Miss Richter, you and the defendant had been friends, according to the complaint that I read.
Yes, Your
And there was a point when she was in some difficulty. Did she come to live with you at that point?
Yes, she did, Your Honor.
When was that?
About October?
October of 2004?
Yes.
Who were you living with?
My fiance?
Who's now your husband?
Yes.
Is that him?
No.
Who was this?
This is my witness.
According to you, there are 2 loans outstanding. And in addition to the 2 loans, you claim that Miss Falk owes you for this bridesmaid's dress. I assume that this is the bridesmaid's dress. She was an attendant at your wedding. They were supposed to pay for their own dresses. You claim she did not pay for hers.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Falk says that both of those times when you gave her the money, it was a gift. And the bridesmaid's dress, she says she paid for, even though you still have it.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you go to live with Miss Richter and her fiancé, Miss Falk?
I was having some problems with my mother and needed to get out of the situation that I was in.
And when was the first time that she gave you money?
When this guy right over here got me into trouble at my employment, I was taken to jail because of him and his roommates and what they had asked me to do for them. And
well, why don't you explain that to me further?
Okay, I was working at Colusa Casino in Colusa County. And
where is that?
Part of Northern California.
Go ahead.
Me and Mr. Weiser had started dating, and him and his roommates knew obviously that I worked at a casino and asked me if I could possibly give them players cards with instant rewards on them, which is like a credit, and they can go in the casino and play. Well, I told them a number of times I didn't want to do it. I didn't feel comfortable doing it. Now I'm being charged for all 4 of those gentlemen and what they asked me to do.
Just a second. So they asked you to get them these cards, and you said no. So how could you be charged with anything?
Because I did it anyways.
Oh, so you did it. You did something illegal.
Yes, ma'am.
Levita Richter says former friend Adriana Falk owes for bail money, a loan to have her car fixed, and the cost of a bridesmaid's dress.
Explain to me how you did something illegal.
I would go in and add the instant rewards to their cards. That gentleman right there would come in and play his, not only, and all 4 of his.
I don't
roommates'
understand the
cards.
instant rewards. What does that mean?
It's just like a credit you can go in and play on slot machines. You can't cash it out. The only thing you cash out is what you win, but you cannot cash out anything on that card.
But you can play with it.
Yeah.
And you knew you were doing, in effect, you were stealing from the casino.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Nobody forces you to steal, madam. That's
well,
not
this
anybody.
gentleman here did.
No, he didn't. No, Miss Falk. That's not true. If I asked Byrd to falsify a document from me, and I've known him for a very long time. 25 years?
At least.
At least. I guarantee you he would not do it for me. And he likes me. And if I asked somebody that I cared about to do something illegal, I would not be angry if they said, no, that's illegal.
Well, they were when I said no.
So then what you say to somebody who's asking you to do something wrong is, I'm sorry, you can be angry, and if you want to not see me anymore, you don't see me anymore. If you want to not be my friend, you don't want to be my boyfriend, whatever it is. But you don't blame somebody else for you're doing something criminal.
There are charges pending on them, but I don't know what they are yet.
Are there charges pending against you?
Yes, there is.
For what?
For second-degree burglary, and it's burglary in the second degree, and then the grand theft as well.
Oh, well, I'm not going to ask you any questions about that because those matters are pending. I'm sorry. You represented by an attorney with regard to that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Stupid. Anyway, you got into trouble and she bailed you out?
Yeah. He was on his way home and he called her and asked her to bail me out of jail.
Who asked her?
I had called Mr. Weiser and told him that I was in jail because he knew that I was going to meet with the security officers at the casino that morning. Then I ended up being arrested after about an hour or two of questioning. I was taken into custody and arrested, and I called him. He was the first person that I was able to call, and he called her and asked her to bail me out.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Who called?
The bail bond gentleman called me at work.
Oh, but she didn't call you.
I spoke to her, and she asked me to come bail her out.
When? You said the bail bondsman called.
I talked to her after the bail bonds gentleman called, and I was allowed to talk to her. And she was crying. She said, please come get me out of this place.
You went there and you bailed her out?
Yes.
What arrangements did you make for her to pay you back?
She was to pay me back. She had promised me that she would pay me back because that's just, I wasn't just going to give it to her. I was getting married in a few months, and I didn't have that money to spare.
Well, I want to know what conversation did you have with her with regard to paying you back?
She just
don't tell me what she understood.
She
Ms.
just
Richter.
said, you know, I promise that I'll pay you back. I thank you for bailing me out.
When did she say that to you?
In front of the bail bond gentleman, when we were signing these papers.
Let me see the papers. Okay, what was the next amount of money?
It was the $500 that I loaned her to have her car fixed.
Okay, let me hear.
She was driving a Geo Metro. It needed some repairs. It was $1,000. They have it fixed. Matt was my witness. He was going to pay half, and I was going to pay the other half. I wrote him a check. He deposited it into his bank account, and he
well,
used
just a
his credit
second.
card.
Why were you going to pay half? I don't hear what.
She didn't have the money to pay it, and it needed to be fixed, or else she wouldn't be able to drive back and forth to work.
Well, when did you have that discussion with her, Miss Richter?
It was
on the phone while I was at Winco.
It was not on the phone. She was in my...
Just a minute. Where was it?
I was at Winco with Mr. Weiser at the time, and she called me and told me that her and her husband now were going to loan me the $500.
No, just a second. She said she and her husband were going to loan you the $500. Perfect. And she did. So why don't you have to pay her back?
She had me arrested.
What did she have you arrested for?
Charges on credit card fraud.
And that's another thing that's pending against you? I don't want to hear about it. So she's alleging that you took money from her credit cards. And she called and had you arrested. Sounds right to me. $815 so far. Now let's hear about the bridesmaid's dress.
Bridesmaid's dress, I was getting married March. She was my maid of honor. I have a list of the other two ladies that were my bridesmaids. They knew they were all to pay for the dress. If they did not pay for the dress, they were to not be in the wedding. Being she was my supposed best friend living with me, I assumed that she would pay me back for it.
Don't assume anything.
That's my fault.
That's your fault is right. It's a very nice dress. I hope you can wear it. You don't assume anything. After she didn't have $315, which she didn't give you back for the bail bondsman, and $500 she didn't have for her car, really $1,000 she didn't have for her car, how you could legitimately expect her to pay for a dress, expect her to pay for a dress, is something I quite frankly don't understand. So it looks like a very nice dress. It's yours. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $815. Thanks. That's all.
You may step out.
your boyfriend's mother.
Yes.
I assume this is the boyfriend.
Yes, he is.
How long have you been his girlfriend?
We're actually broken up right now. We were dating for about a month.
Not dating anymore?
No.
Any particular reason?
We were good friends, and I didn't want to ruin our friendship.
Okay. It is your complaint that Mrs. Irwin, for no good reason, broke your cell phone.
Yes, she did.
And you want her to pay for it.
Yes.
And Miss Irwin says you were an uninvited guest in her home, and that precipitated this incident with the cell phone. So why don't you tell me when this happened?
This happened in February, the 21st. Ryan and I were dating at the time. We had gotten back to his house and we were watching TV, relaxing.
Where were you watching TV?
Up in his living room. And Bernice came home.
Bernice, that's you?
Yes. And she came home yelling and freaking out on Ryan. She began to yell at him even more and put him down.
What was she saying?
You're a loser, you're good for nothing. And then she began to hit him, smack him in the face.
What did he say to her?
Nothing. Nothing was really said. She was just like, you're a loser. And Ryan was just simply not saying anything because I was present. And when she came into the living room, she was yelling at me. And then she had hit Ryan across the face. And then she did it a few more times. And I told her that if she had kept hitting him, that I was going to call the cops because I did not feel comfortable whatsoever. She looked at me and said, I'll do whatever I want. This is my house. Hit him again, and that's when I had called for police assistance.
Okay, so you used your cell phone to call the police?
Yes, I did.
Okay, what happened next?
When I was on the phone with the police, she was still yelling at Ryan, and they got it on tape and everything like that. And I had said I need police assistance to this address. And then she had noticed I was on the phone with the cops, and then she had attacked me. And I have pictures here of the bruises from when she grabbed my arm and my wrist.
Is that when your phone was broken?
Yes.
Well, tell me how it got broken, Miss Dickinson.
I was on the phone, and she had grabbed my arm, and then she was fighting with me. I was telling her to let go of me, not to touch me. And then she grabbed the top half of my cell phone and snapped it off and opened her front door and threw it outside in the snow.
Okay. Now I'll see the police report, please.
Okay. I also have pictures of the bruises. Would you like to see them?
Yes.
And there's also pictures of my cell phone. No.
Is this the only police report that you have?
Yes, there was no police report written. It was just a log entry.
Okay. Step up, please. Your first name is Ryan?
Mm-hmm.
How old are you, Ryan?
18.
You're not living in your mother's home anymore, is that right?
Yes.
Who are you living with now?
I'm staying with friends now.
How long has it been since you haven't been getting along with your mother?
As long as I can remember.
When did you ultimately move out of the house?
She kicked me out a couple weeks ago after she got arrested for domestic assault on me.
Why don't you get along with your mother?
Because she's crazy.
I also have the police log from her arrest, if you'd like to see that.
I would. Are you going to school, Ryan?
No, not right now.
You working?
No, not currently.
How are you supporting yourself?
I really haven't been.
Okay. All right, Miss Irwin, what kind of work do you do?
I'm a store manager.
Were you working on the 21st of February?
I was.
What were your hours of employment?
On that particular day, I worked till about 6 p.m.
Did you go directly from the store home?
I did not.
Where did you go?
I went to a friend's house, and then I came home.
What time did you get home?
Approximately 7 to 7:30 p.m.
And you came home and you found your son and his girlfriend watching television?
They were in my living room. My house was a total disaster. Ryan was not allowed to have any guests at my home without my permission, which he continued to do so, and I was quite angry.
Had you ever met this young lady before?
Once or twice, yes.
Where?
One time at my house, and another time she was leaving my house for a few minutes. That was it.
You never had any problem with her?
No, I didn't.
So what happened when you came home on the 21st?
I'd asked Ryan why he had a guest in my home. We'd had many problems in the past with him having company, and I told him he was not allowed to have anybody in my home without my permission. Ryan got very angry at me and started swearing, cursing, calling me several names. He then spit in my face, literally, and I slapped him across the face once. At that point, Jamie had gotten off my sofa and started calling me names that I will not even repeat, and I asked them to leave my house.
That's
they
not
refused.
true.
Shh. Yes?
She did say, threatened she was going to call the police. I, at that time, told her if indeed she called the police, my son probably would have been arrested because he was on probation.
For what?
Numerous things, assault and battery, disturbing the peace. He was on probation for assault and battery on a police officer.
That's serious stuff?
It had
Ryan?
been serious stuff.
That's serious stuff?
Yes.
Okay, so she called the police.
Yeah, I didn't know she was on the phone. I had just got done telling her if indeed she called the police.
There was a lot of screaming going around, so
Yes, there was.
Everybody was screaming. I want to know how her phone got broken.
She got on the phone with somebody, I'm not sure who, saying that I was abusing my son, which was not true.
That was with the police.
My son had just spit in my face, and I did slap him across the face after he had called me several vulgar names. One time I did slap him across the face. Yes, I did.
I want to know how her phone got broken.
Well, she was on the phone, and I, at that point, once again told her, if you want to make the phone call, go outside. I need you to get out of my house. And she refused to leave, so I took the phone out of her hands. And as far as I know, it was the top part of her cell phone that did snap off. And at that point, I threw it outside to make them leave my house. I'd asked them several times to leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have you ever been in trouble with the law?
Nope, never.
He has been.
I understand that.
Set your sights a little higher. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I have
Don't
a new
say
boyfriend.
anything, Ryan.
And later today,
Lester's a stubborn dog, there's no doubt about it.
I have a very stubborn dog, but she has been very, very well trained.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jamie Dickinson says her ex-boyfriend's mother owes for breaking her cell phone. Bernice Irwin claims Jamie was trespassing on her property.
Okay. There are a couple of things that I don't quite understand, Miss Irwin, and I think that probably you would have been more prudent if when you came home and found Ryan there watching television with his girlfriend, you waited until she left and then confronted him. As far as I've heard, they weren't doing anything untoward. They were sitting and watching television in your living room. So when you came home and started to go off on him in front of his girlfriend, especially a kid that you'd had trouble with and that clearly has a temper, that probably wasn't the most prudent thing to do. And then there was a lot of yelling and screaming. However, Miss Dickinson was an invited guest to your home. She was invited by your son, who lives there, or did then. And whatever argument you were having with your son, and I'm not going to get into slapping him in the face or screaming or yelling or bad names, I'm not getting into that. The only thing that's before me is whether you're responsible to buy her a new cell phone. I believe her when she says that she told you she was going to call the police, and I believe you knew she was calling the police because that's what she said she was going to do. And at that time, if you grabbed her by the arm and grabbed her cell phone and snapped it off and then threw it outside, you're responsible to buy her a new cell phone. It seems to me that there was an altercation in your home and it was getting out of hand. It was a good thing that she was calling the police. So why would you be angry? So, how much was the cell phone?
It is $199.99. I have the paper from the website singular.com.
Okay, can I see it, please? And the cell phone. Who is this person?
Carol, a friend of mine.
Was she there that evening?
She wasn't there that evening.
Okay. This is one of these cute little phones that takes pictures?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't take pictures. Okay, that's all you're suing for, the cost of the cell phone. Anything else you want to tell me?
No, that about covers everything.
What do you do for a living, Miss Dickinson?
I babysit. And I used to work at CVS. I had just quit my job, though, because I'm still in high school, and I'm graduating this year. So it was kind of hard doing both.
Have you ever been in trouble with the law?
Nope, never.
He has been.
I understand that.
Lots of times. Set your sights a little higher. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I have
Don't
a new
say
boyfriend.
anything, Ryan. You've got a little ways to go to get your act together, young man. Somebody who's 18 years old, who's not going to school, who's not working, who's not supporting themselves, who's got an arrest history, according to your mother, that's lengthy, is not going down the right path. The yellow brick road is eluding you, Ryan. You're going to have to find it. Otherwise, you're going to be dead by the time you're 30. That would be a shame, right? Be smart. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $199. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm a little confused about the whole thing, actually. I don't really believe that I broke Jamie's cell phone.
I was not brought up that way. I was brought in a very well-nurtured home where no violence is present.
I did ask her to leave my home along with my son.
Mom overreacts a whole lot.
I'm really hoping that we can be friends yet again, mother and daughter. Mother and son, I'm sorry.
The next case.
All parties in the matter of Livingston versus Goebel, step forward, please.
Electrician David Livingston is suing his former friend, 29-year-old nurse's assistant Kimberly Goebel, for a series of unpaid loans. David says he met Kimberly on the internet, and she played him for a fool.
Mr. Livingston, it is your claim that the defendant, who you met on the internet and had started a relationship with, owes you for 2 loans that you made to her.
Correct.
How old are you, sir?
40.
Ever been married?
Yes.
More than once?
No.
How long?
Well, a little over a year.
Long time ago?
Yes, 13 years.
So you've been single ever since? You're looking for the right girl?
Well, one day.
She's not it.
I understand that. It was never that way, Your Honor.
No. I'm just telling you.
Right.
She's not it. When did you start communicating with Miss Goebel on the internet?
It was about June or July of last year.
And when for the first time did you meet her?
Probably about a month after we started talking.
Of 04?
Yes.
Where did you meet her?
We first met, she needed some stuff. She needed some feminine stuff. And so she asked me as a favor, as a friend, and I went and took her some feminine materials.
That's the first time you met her?
I believe so, Your Honor.
You mean you communicated on the internet and she said, I have to go get some feminine hygiene stuff, and you said, okay, I'll come and pick you up?
There was a lot of history behind that, Your Honor. Because we had talked on the phone also. We talked on the phone also.
I don't care whether you talked on the phone. I don't care whether you blew up balloons together, whether you sent pigeons to each other's homes. Doesn't make any difference to me. It just seems very peculiar that the first time that you meet a woman, she takes you to the drugstore to buy her feminine products.
Well, you know, I do have to correct myself, Your Honor. I believe the first time we met, we went to a bar for a beer.
Now that sounds like a thing. Is that what happened to Miss Goebel?
And the whole time that we were sitting there communicating, she was on the cell phone the whole time.
Listen, Mr. Livingston, if now you're telling me that the first time you met, she sat on the phone talking to somebody, and then you gave her money sometime in the future, that doesn't make you look too smart.
Well, I understand that, Your Honor, but
okay,
it was...
good. So, August is when you met for the first time.
Correct.
Now, I'd like you to tell me when you gave her money for the first time.
It was in
The
November?
questions are going to get harder, sir. Your lawsuit involves 2 different dates that you gave her money. Correct. Those should be right up there, because the questions are going to get more complex after that.
Okay. It was approximately 1st of September.
So, within a couple of weeks of meeting her?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, tell me about that.
Well, she had always played this hard luck story. She was trying to change her life. Said she'd quit drugs. She was trying to get away from the people that she was hanging out with. And when I was down and out, somebody was there to help me. And she pretty much played me that she was a wounded duck, and she was trying to change her life. She said if she didn't get her phone bill paid, she couldn't talk to her mom, she couldn't talk to those people that were important to her. And so it didn't happen overnight. She asked me several times, and there were several times that I said, Kim, quit calling me. And she would also call back and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I understand, and can we be friends? I said,
so
sure.
you gave her how much to pay for her phone bill?
I actually paid it for her. I went down to Smith's, got a money order, and mailed it in for $50 for her cell phone bill.
Oh, okay, and the next?
The next was she bought a car.
When?
She purchased a car in February of this year.
So since August, you've been in a relationship with you. You're talking about February
Friendship.
2005.
Friendship.
So between September and February, I assume she didn't pay you back the $50.
Correct. She kept saying that there was a lawsuit she was going to get a settlement on.
There's my uncle who's coming and is going to help me get straight.
Correct.
How much money did you give her in February?
Again, it was not an overnight situation. Okay.
How much money did you give her in February?
It was a little over $220, somewhere right.
Okay, so that's what she owes you.
She owes me that, and also for her insurance. I paid her insurance for it.
How much was that?
$50.
What's next?
Well, basically what happened is that her birthday was in March, 2nd of March, and I called her. She is trying to make this into a relationship gone bad. It is not a relationship gone bad. She made a verbal promise to me, and that's all that matters. I did buy her something for her birthday. I bought her a necklace that said Friends on it. Okay, I since took it back to Walmart. But, okay, but the situation is that she is very, very good about manipulating somebody's feelings to make You think that you are her friend.
Well, that's what she did to you, sir.
That's exactly what she did to me.
No, I did not.
Who do you live with?
I'm living with my ex, which is my baby's father.
How old is your baby?
2.
Do you have only one child?
No, I have 3.
Where are the other 2?
They're living with me.
Did you ever go out with Mr. Livingston and your 3 children?
Well, he came over to my son's birthday party.
And when did the father of your youngest child come back into the picture?
Well, I was living with him at the time, and he was my friend, and he came over to the birthday party.
So you were living with your boyfriend?
Well, he's my ex. I've been separated for like a year and a half.
Did you know that he was living there, Mr. Livingston?
Yes, I did.
Did you know who he was?
Yes, I did. And what I asked her is, I said, I have never in my life heard a situation to where a girlfriend and boyfriend break up and they're living together. Why is he living there, Kim? She says, because if I don't let him live there, he is not going to let me see my child. He's going to withhold my child from me. Your Honor, I come from a situation to where my ex held my children from me, and I was sensitive to that. Okay?
Mr. Livingston.
Yes, ma'am.
It sounds to me you were a little bit smitten with the defendant, because otherwise you wouldn't have even asked that question, right? So it sounds to me as if
that is not true, Your Honor. She was trying to better her life, and she could not better her life when he wasn't working, he wasn't paying for groceries, he wasn't doing anything but sucking her dry.
Mr. Livingston, if you want to be a benevolent guy, and if you want to be a mentor, there are kids there in the Boys and Girls Club that you can mentor.
I understand.
You were mentoring Miss Goebel because you were smitten with her.
No, ma'am, that's not true.
Yeah, well, I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second, sir.
I also got a call from her ex, and he basically said, what kind of trouble do you want with me? And I said, you know what, this is none of your business. If you call here again, I'm going to file suit on you. He called right back, and he said, the disciples are going to be after you.
Mr.
Okay?
Livingston.
So,
all very interesting, sir.
thank you, Your Honor.
Fascinating. Can I see the card that you are dying to show me, Byrd? Would you get that card for me, please?
Sure.
May I explain that card, Your Honor?
Yes. Your Honor, this card was...
Yes, now you can explain this love card.
Thank you, Your Honor. She had asked me a lot of times to fix her car. I said I could not financially do it. When I could finally do it, I said, is he leaving tomorrow? And she said, yes. I said, well, that would be a better environment, because I didn't like the guy. I didn't like him around. He was an idiot. He was aggressive, everything else. So anyway, so I felt better working by myself without having him around. Not because I was closer to her, but because it was a better environment for me. Because he's a violent
Get to the card,
individual.
Mr. Livingston.
Yes, ma'am. So she calls me and says, I want a relationship with you. I said, what are you talking about? You know, that's quote, end quote. I want a relationship with you, Dave. And I said, you know what, you don't have to do this, Kim. I'm your friend. I'm going to fix your car regardless. You don't have to say that. So I was out of town for 2 days. I got her that birthday present, that $40 friendship necklace. And when I came back, all of a sudden, I mean, this was really weird. I called her.
Give me the
Yes.
Get to the card,
I'm going to
Mr.
get to the card.
Livingston.
Yeah.
It says I love you.
I bought her the
always
card
wanna be
because
with you.
when I got back from out of town, we had a fight. Because, now understand, I had spent 2 nights over there. You said that I was interested in her. I spent 2 nights over there, and I didn't lay a hand on her, okay? The card was given to her because there was an interest there, okay? But
Mr. Livingston.
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
I'm getting older by the second, sir. Listen to me very carefully, Mr. Livingston.
Yes, Your Honor.
The fact that she said to you, I want a relationship with you, doesn't answer the question. I said to you, were you smitten with her? You said no.
I was not
But
smitten.
I'm speaking.
Yes,
You
Your
said no. You said I cared about her because she was a human being, and people helped me when I was trying to turn my life around, and I was trying to help her. It had nothing to do with a romantic feeling. So the fact that, listen to me very carefully, try to put on your listening ears.
Yes, ma'am.
The fact that she says to you, I want a relationship with you, your response is, Kim, I don't feel that way about you. I want to be your friend and help you because I'm a human being, and from one human being to another, I have no romantic interest in you at all. The fact that she said to you, I want a relationship with you, doesn't mean you send her a love letter. Unless you are smitten with her, Mr. Livingston. Now, you can talk until you're blue in the face, until I'm tall and you're short, but that's the truth of the matter.
Then, Your Honor,
no, cross it off. If you're looking for a mate, sir, she is not it. Put a period. It's over. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very well.
Your Honor, I can
Goodbye.
recover.
Good luck. Have a happy life. Cross it off. It's money down the sewer. It's over. Goodbye. Not alone.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Left the house and you were living together. Let's deal with the accident, please, and not this utility bill. All right?
Okay.
Good. How long were you living together?
In December, it was probably about 9 months.
Okay. Sir, let's start with you. When was the accident?
Approximately December, I believe.
You want to tell me what happened?
Basically, she asked me if I could drive her to work because she was running late. Dropped her off at work, was driving to a friend of mine's house, and was...
Well, why were you dropping her off at work, sir? You were borrowing her car?
She was late, and...
Does she doesn't drive?
Yes, she does, but she was late. She had asked me if I could drop her off.
Mr. West, if she's going to work and if she's late, why isn't she driving her own car?
She could put her makeup on the car on the way to work. More time to get ready.
Does that sound right to you?
No. He wanted to borrow my car. His truck wasn't legal to drive, so it wasn't registered.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Well, why didn't you say that?
That wasn't the reason I was driving her car.
Well, sir, let me tell you what you just said to me a moment ago. You said you dropped her off at work and you were going over to see a friend of yours.
Yes.
Which means you had someplace to go. And if you couldn't get there driving your truck, which you clearly wouldn't use because it wasn't legal, you needed a car that day.
I wasn't legal either, so me driving anything was not legal.
You mean you had no license?
Suspended license.
Why is that?
I was supposed to make my court hearing within 10 days. I thought it was 30.
Make what court hearing?
Court hearing I had for a ticket.
What kind of ticket?
Speeding.
Oh. See how complicated things get? Why were you letting him drive your car if he had no license?
I was under the impression that all of that was being taken care of.
What do you mean all of it was being taken care of? What does that mean?
He had more than one ticket, and I was...
I assumed he did.
I was under the impression that it was taken care of, and he had asked me not to keep bothering him about it. I didn't realize he was going to be driving my car all over town like that.
I don't care if he drives your car from here to the end of this room. Driving all over town isn't the issue. Right. Driving at all, getting behind the wheel of a car and turning on the ignition is the problem. So, Miss Ewing, you knew that he had no license.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's get to it. So you let him take you to work, go visit his friends, come back to pick you up, and you knew he had no license. I just want to get things straight. It would be so easy if I could get this without, like, pulling teeth. All right, Mr. West, so you dropped her off at work, and then you went to your friend's house. I'm waiting for the accident.
On the way to my friend's house, I was rear-ended.
Did you get out of your car?
No.
Why not?
Because I had no license.
Didn't you get out to see if maybe somebody was injured?
I was the one rear-ended.
So what? I mean, common sense would say, listen, if you were rear-ended and caused almost $3,000 worth of damage, according to her, somebody might have been hurt in the other car, even if it was their fault. Keep going. I'm getting more fascinated with this story of yours.
The damage didn't look near as bad. It looked like it just needed a new bumper, and we had agreed. He had said that he would pay for a new bumper. A month or two later, he still had put it off. And
you're driving the car?
Yes, ma'am.
And he's driving the car?
No, that was the last
Never
time.
drove the car after that?
No.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The next month is when he moved out. We were bickering back and forth, I guess, but he was obviously not going to pay for the bumper. So I took it in to get an estimate for the bumper. The damage to the car apparently isn't something that you can see. It's damage more to the frame and underneath the car. The trunk pan is rippled. There's dents, or not dents, but dimples next to the sunroof from the impact of the accident. And
what? Dimples to the sunroof?
Well, during the collision, it'll send a shockwave through the body of the car. And
what do you do for a living?
I'm a waitress.
Waitresses can't give expert testimony on what happens during the course of a collision. Your statement, Mr. West, is that Miss Ewing was in 2 accidents since. How do you know she was in another accident with the car?
All I know is that she obtained new rims because she had damaged one, and the other was pretty much just hearsay.
Were you in subsequent accidents after this incident with Mr. West in December?
I was not in I ran over a curb, if that's considered an accident.
Well, it's not an on purpose. You didn't run over the curb on purpose.
No, no.
And you damaged the car.
Mm-hmm. Well, the tires needed to be replaced, yes, ma'am.
How many tires?
2.
That's a lot of damage. You damaged the rims as well? It's
yes.
Not an answer.
Yes.
Get a life, Miss Ewing.
Okay.
Let me see the estimate that you have. Replace bumper cover, $284. The rest is for roof panels with sunroof, add for clear clove glass sunroof, possible rear suspension damage, clean and delivery, $20. You needed a bumper. What kind of car do you have?
2002 Honda Accord. And if you read, I mean, the gentleman explained to me why.
Listen to me, my dear. You're lucky, quite frankly, that I would award you a penny based upon the fact that you permitted an unlicensed driver to drive your car. That's your responsibility. You're the owner of the car, and you can say, no, you can't drive your car because you're irresponsible. The government says that you're not responsible enough to drive any car, and I'm not giving you my car to drive. Then you wouldn't have been in this problem with him. Second thing is, I'm not prepared to say what damage was caused by somebody rear-ending him, or whether the underneath part of the car was damaged as a result of you going over a curb that required you replacing 2 tires and 2 rims. But mostly, you had no right to let an unlicensed driver drive your car. Period. End of discussion. Okay. This court is going to award you $200. You want to have the bumper fixed? Terrific. You don't? Terrific. Are you together anymore?
Questionable.
Questionable? When you say questionable, what does that mean?
That means no.
No. Listen to me very carefully, sir. You moved out in what month?
January.
Since January, have you and Miss Ewing had dinner together?
Yes.
Since January, have you and Miss Ewing gone shopping together?
Yes.
Since January, have you and Miss Ewing slept together?
Yes.
Miss Ewing, you get 0. Nothing. Nothing. You picked them, you deal with them. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused and let's step out.
We don't see eye to eye when it comes to our future and where we want to go.
Conflict of interest, I guess you could say.
Apparently, if he doesn't want to get a job to pay for the damages or his bills, then therefore, yeah, we apparently don't see eye to eye.
Get to the card, Mr. Livingston.
Yes, ma'am. This was really weird. I called her.
Get to the card, Mr.
I'm going to get to the
Livingston.
card. You said that I was interested. I spent 2 nights over there.
Mr. Livingston, I'm getting older by the second, sir.
Real cases, real people. 25-year-old homemaker Deanna Horn Torres is suing dog trainer Brian Cunningham for injuring her dog Buster during a session. Brian says he did nothing out of the ordinary.
Miss Torres?
Yes.
And this is Buster?
Yes.
And Buster was behaving badly. How old is Buster?
He's 4 months.
Where did you get him?
We got him from a breeder.
What kind of dog is he?
He's a boxer.
Did the breeder tell you that boxers are hard to train?
No, she didn't.
Is he hard to train?
He's doing better, but he is a little difficult. Yes, he is.
He doesn't look interested in what's going on here, I'll tell you that right now. Well, according to what your complaint states, because you were having some difficulty in training Buster on your own, you asked your vet for a recommendation.
Yes.
Had you used this vet before?
Yes.
You think that the vet that you used was a good one?
Yes.
And your vet recommended Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
And said he was a good dog trainer?
Yes.
And you made an agreement with him. I think his whole fee was $525, and you paid him, and it is your claim that he hurt your dog during the training sessions, and you want a full refund.
Yes.
The $525 that you paid Mr. Cunningham was for how many sessions?
He didn't give me an amount. He said he would come to my house until I was completely satisfied. He didn't tell me how long it would take.
I offer everybody. It's a 6-week course or until the dog is completely trained.
What kind of trained? You mean potty trained, crate trained?
Housebreaking, chewing, digging, obedience is how we do it.
What if you get a really dumb dog?
There aren't really very many dumb dogs. It's just folks, you've got to follow up with the instruction I give you.
What about stubborn dogs?
Very stubborn sometimes. Buster's a stubborn dog. There's no doubt about it.
I have a very stubborn dog. But she has been very, very well trained.
That's good.
All right, Miss Torres, tell me what happened.
He had came 3 times to my house. The first day, everything went fine. The second time he came, there was a pink mark around the dog's neck, and he told me it was because the dog was a white dog and it would go away. And it did. Within 2 hours, it was gone. And so the next time he came, the dog ran under the bed to hide. Well, whenever he came out...
That's all right. You can leave him alone. He's fine.
As soon as he put the collar around the dog's neck, the dog snapped at him.
And so when he was being rough with him, we asked him, why are you being so rough? And he said that he had to do it to keep him from snapping at people. So we said, okay, well,
You mean the dog bit the inside of his mouth?
Yes. And so at that time, we ended the session. He took the collar off the dog, and the dog ran underneath the bed. And when I went to the dog, I had noticed the injuries that I do have pictures of. And my husband talked to Brian later on the phone and told Brian that we didn't want his services anymore. We couldn't have him abuse our dog.
Okay, so let me see the photographs that you took. Okay, Mr. Cunningham, I'll hear you.
Your Honor, I've been training dogs for 17 years. I have two witnesses to tell you what kind of trainer I am.
Tell me your name.
Barbara Fuquay.
Step up, please. Are you just a satisfied customer?
Oh, I'm absolutely satisfied.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a Maltese, Sophie.
Little one?
She's very small, yes. She's about 5 pounds.
Does she bark?
Well, actually, she does not bark. No, not usually.
Good.
Yes, I know. I'm so happy with her, and I'm so happy with Brian.
Okay. You, sir?
My name is Victor McDougall, and Brian has trained 2 dogs for me. The first one was Tara, and she had a little problem with liking to chew on furniture and stuff. And, Brian helped me train her and get her out of that. And most people would tell me that, boy, I wish my kids listened as well as my dog. So, yeah, so that's always good to hear.
Okay. Have a seat. So this is my problem, Mr. Cunningham. I believe that you are a good dog trainer.
Thank you.
And I believe that because their vet that they have tremendous confidence in recommended you.
Yes.
And you bring 2 witnesses who I have no reason to doubt that say that you've been wonderful with their animals. This didn't work out. Whether you pulled a little too hard, whether the dog bruises easily, I don't know what happened. But these people did not cause this injury to the dog. I can understand they're being upset. Does it sound like you're losing yet, sir?
No, it doesn't.
Good. Perfect. Would you give these to Mr. Cunningham, please? We have to know when to...
Okay.
Take them back now, please. Now, you have a whole bunch of satisfied customers. And I don't think that, based upon what these people tell me, that this is standard fare for you, because otherwise their vet would not have recommended you, and you have satisfied customers. So if these people are not satisfied, you should have given them back their money and said, in 17 years, I never had this kind of problem. I don't want this kind of problem now. My time is too valuable.
Your Honor,
yes,
if I
Mr.
may,
Cunningham.
I believe that I should be paid for my time. If
Well-
I show up 4 times and they refuse to accept any of my, I understand that. The dog, you know what, here's the thing. Had they been working the dog every week, only 10 minutes a day, that would not have been the case
Mr. Cunningham,
ever.
you know how kind I was just being to you before a moment ago? I was being kind to you because like 10 million people are going to watch this. A lot of them have dogs. So I was trying to be kind and say, you're a wonderful dog trainer.
Well, I am.
This was an aberration. You should have just said, going to return your money, and that's it. But since you don't seem to get it, what I'm going to tell you is this, sir. If you went to their house first time and then came back for the next session and you found that they weren't following your direction,
Yes.
at that point you could have said, just a minute, I can't work this way. I'm not going to treat this dog in any way that's
treat the dog any rougher.
in any way that's rough, that's going to leave this kind of bruising. Here's your money back, not the 4th time you came to the house, but the 2nd time you came to the house and said, I can't work with you people. I could work with that dog, but I can't work with you. So here's your money back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $525. Clearly, this dog is not intimidated by anything, not even my voice.
No, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
राम राम भाई लोगों सभी को राम 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 भाइयों लोगों
सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें
सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें
डोंट फॉरगेट टू सब्सक्राइब
डोंट forget to subscribe
सब्सक्राइब माय चैनल
subscribe my channel.
Please.
Please.
I am doing work properly with just Judy.
I jam
Just Judy.
Just Judy.
How are you, everyone?
I will
You are from USA. I'm from US, India.
I'm from the Radigat.
ये मेरा new vlog. This is my new
पर
vlog.
आज झुकेगा नहीं साला.
This is my new vlog. This is my new vlog. Wow, this thing, wow. This is my new vlog. Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha.
This is my new vlog.
This is my own vlog. Thank you.